Hey, all you beautiful people. I have to admit, I was not planning on coming live tonight. But something's come up. You know what? I get really tired of people coming to my channel wanting to whine. If you can't handle the truth, don't come to my goddamn channel. Okay? Just don't. I don't need your shit. Okay? My channel is for discussion, and my channel is, hey, do you know me? Got a question for you. Um, do you think I spew hate on this channel? Do you know me is here? I don't know whether this is going to show up. On my channel, do you? On this channel right here, do you know me? Okay. That's their own opinion, and I've asked other people too. So for the person that left that goddamn message to me, and I gave you another goddamn message, and let me tell you something. You're sulking because you want a goddamn justification for my goddamn anger. Well, I gave you a goddamn justification because I have been lied to, and I do not like being lied to, you son of a bitch. So if you don't like truth and you don't like honesty, you can get the fuck off my channel. And yes, I'm goddamn angry. And you want to know why? You want to know why? Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not feeling well, you fucking moron, because I've got shingles, okay? So that comment did not make my day. Okay? If you want to be a whiny little bitch, you can be a whiny little bitch elsewhere. I don't need bitchiness on my channel. But I'm gonna leave up your comment because I believe in freedom of speech. So I'm gonna leave up your comment so that other people can see what kind of bitchiness I have to deal with you kind of people. Okay, do you know me? I wouldn't, I don't know either. I was gonna let you come on, so we could talk and all that. But anyway, I'm sorry I'm being such a bitch. I really don't feel well. Like I said, I got the shingles. Oh shit. Really? Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened too. But anyway, yeah, I know. I can be a bitch. I've told everybody that. I can be a bitch. Thank you. Do you know me? If you don't like me being a bitch, don't come on my channel. I've already told you I can be a bitch. Everybody knows I can be a bitch. You know, okay, let me calm down. Hey, Lisa. Everybody knows I can be a bitch. If you can't handle me being a bitch, get off my goddamn channel and quit whining. If you can't handle the truth, then I don't give a shit. Lisa, you want to come on? Just because I tell the truth from my perspective does not mean that I assert things without evidence. Those things that you say I assert without evidence, those are my goddamn opinions. I have never said that they were not my opinions. The facts speak for themselves, and I back up the facts with evidence. The fact that you don't like the facts, I can't help that. And if you don't like my opinions, I can't help that either. Look, nobody's opinions are 100% the same, okay? Nobody's opinions are 100% the same. I speak my opinions because that's all I can speak. I can speak my opinions and I can speak the facts. Those are the two things that I can speak. If you want to speak your opinions, start your own goddamn YouTube channel. Okay, do you know me? The fact that you are offended, and I am not saying their name on purpose, okay, but they know who they are. The fact that you are offended that I would dare to speak my opinion and I would dare to speak the facts is proof that you really don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Ox. Yeah, somebody left a comment on one of my videos. Like I said, I'm not gonna call them out because that's just not me, you know. I'm not gonna call them out, but they know who they are, you know. They know who they are. But they're saying I see hatred on my channel. And I'm like, well, give me an example. Well, I can't give you an example because there's so many examples. Ugh. There's so many goddamn examples. How come you can't give me one? Well, it's not them I'm giving attention to, Ox. I'm giving attention to people who would do this. I guess maybe I'm a real YouTuber now that I've got a troll, right? Hey, Purple. Hey, you want to come on? I know, Ox. I'm just saying this for other people who feel the way this person does. You know what I mean? You can come on in, Purple. How you doing, Perp?
I'm homesick, so
Oh, where are you?
I've been stuck home since Christmas. I'm fighting off the COVID.
Oh, oh, so you've got cabin fever, in other words.
No, I've got all the COVID symptoms.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you said you were homesick,
Yeah. So
not home sick.
yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry about that. That sucks.
yeah, it's okay.
But you know what? We can commiserate because I got the shingles.
Uh, so did you have a topic for the stream, or are you just venting about things?
Some idiots like you spew hatred on your channel, and I'm like, well, give me an example. Well, I
Uh,
can't give you an example because there's too many. I'm like, oh my god. Oh my fucking god. If you can't give me an example, why the fuck did you even bother? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I mean, either
Obviously,
give
there
me a
must have been
fucking
something that ticked
example
them
or leave
off.
me a
Yeah,
what?
there must have been something that ticked them off to make the comment.
Oh, either give me a fucking example or fuck off. That's not what I said, but you know, I'm more diplomatic than that in the comment section.
Yeah.
And
Though I'm
thankfully,
sure that you'll piss many people off. Religious people don't like a lot of the things you point out, I'm sure.
oh, I'm sure I do piss a lot of people off. My channel's not to make friends. I mean, yeah, I like it when people like me and and all that good stuff, but I mean, my channel's not a goddamn, you know, a popularity contest.
Yep.
My channel's here to speak the truth. And this person was like, "Well, you hate religion." I'm like, "Well, you're goddamn right about that." Yep. No, I'm like, no argument here. Yep, I hate religion. No, people. They also said I hate people. I'm like, no, I don't hate people. I love people. That's why I do what I do. You know, but you're goddamn fucking right about hating religion. I do hate religion.
I like people in the general sense. I won't limit that to the human species.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a true YouTuber now, huh?
Yeah, I
Thanks.
really don't have a troll yet. I had one that popped up like twice and they went away.
Matt Powell came to my channel like twice. He's like,
Oh, hey,
debate me, bro. And I'm like, I'm not gonna debate you. That's not what I do.
you got a big name in there.
Why would I debate you? All
Yeah, I got.
all the yuckers ever do is turn people's words around so that it sounds like they're absolutely stupid, and and what they say people say isn't exactly what people say anyway. Why would I give you that opportunity?
Well, Matt Powell especially is known for clipping things out of context.
Oh yeah, I know. Do you know Emma Thorne?
I know I've seen the name. I don't really know who it is.
She's a YouTuber. Um, she's been on Whack an Atheist, and I just watched her thing on. it came out about a month ago, I think, about exposing Matt Powell and Kent Hovind. And hey Mark, but she was saying how, you know, like Kent's thing is, well, people are saying, about my doctoral dissertation that, hi, my name is Kent Hovind. I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, a doctoral dissertation doesn't start like that, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, a middle school term paper has a better opening than that.
And then his excuse was, well, Patriot Bible University contacted me. I doubt that. But anyway, moving on. He said that Patriot Bible University contacted him and said they'd like him to do a dissertation. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do my dissertation about? And I'm like, oh my fucking God, is he for real?
I don't know. I'm having trouble just with the idea of using the word Bible and university in the same sentence.
Really? And this was like, it wasn't even a university. It's like a fucking trailer out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's usually what those things wind up being. Just diploma mills that for a couple $1,000 they'll send anyone a diploma.
I know. And he wants to know why people won't call him doctor. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Truth
But
is the
anyway.
daughter of time.
Yeah. But this person in the comments was saying, well, you assert things without evidence. And I'm like, the only things I assert without evidence are my opinions, you fuck. Of course, I didn't say that. I'm much more diplomatic than that in the comments. You know that. But
you are definitely one of the most polite people on the front, really. I mean, aside from shouting the Bible is bullshit, when you're actually dealing with people directly, you're very nice about it.
Yeah, thank you. So anyway, it's like, I don't know why, if this person does not like my channel, I don't know why they keep coming back for more. I mean, really. I'm not telling you got to come to my channel, If you don't like my channel, don't watch my channel. Speaking of,
because they don't have a platform.
Huh?
They don't have a platform, so they're hoping by stirring up drama they can make a name for themselves.
Well, I'm like, why don't you start your own YouTube channel? If you're that pissy, why don't you start your own YouTube channel? Anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah. I think my channel is a testament to how far you can go without putting in any effort.
But speaking of my channel, how do you like my John Pendleton videos? I've been meaning to ask people that.
Lately I've been in such a fog when I've been watching stuff. It's hard for me to give much of an opinion on anything. Most of the stuff I've been listening to when I've been kind of drifting in and out since I've been, just kind of trudging through lately.
Well, before I broke out in the rash, which is awful. I mean, the rash is awful because it's itchy and scratch it, and it's just like, oh God, but I was sleeping a lot. I was sleeping like 22 hours a day, and I'm like, this is not right.
Yeah, lately I feel I'm not really awake enough to be doing much beyond eating and replacing fluids, and then I'm dozing off again.
Yeah. I'm sorry you've got COVID, but
Yeah.
hopefully, I can't go out because I can't because people like like okay, shingle if you've had the chicken pox, the only way you can get shingles is to like touch the rash. But
Mm,
if you haven't had chicken pox, then I can infect somebody who hasn't had chicken pox or the chicken pox vaccine just by being around them with having a rash. So I don't
yep.
wanna do that to the kids just in case they haven't been vaccinated. So I've been keeping inside.
It's very responsible of you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
lucky I've got Sloth Girl to, go pick up my prescriptions and do supply runs for me so I don't have to go anywhere.
yeah. So anyway, but, I thought they were hives at first, but they didn't act like hives. They were just itchy, so that's what I thought, because hives are itchy.
Yep. Well, I'm glad we're doing this on a virtual connection. For some reason, the chickenpox vaccine doesn't work for me. Even though I was vaccinated, I've gotten it twice.
Oh, wow.
So the doctors have said that's just, there's a small percentage of people that your system won't remember it.
Gotcha. W what do you
So
mean
yeah,
by magnetizers, Mark? But anyway, yeah, they said I shouldn't get the shingles again, but I'm just doing the rest thing.
yeah.
But, I just had to come
Must be
on and,
awfully hard not to scratch them though.
yeah, it is, but at least it's not, like, all over the body like the chicken pox were.
Mm, okay.
I was young when I had chicken pox. I was, like, 4 or 5 when I got the chicken pox. So, I don't really remember the chicken pox except that they were all over my body, but, at least at least the shingles aren't all over your body, it's just, um, over, like, part of your torso, so anyway.
Yeah.
So what are you doing while you're pent up with COVID?
Yeah. Like I say, I'm really only coherent for a couple hours at a time. So
Yeah.
pretty much just, watching
Yeah.
stuff on YouTube or on streaming services. I don't really have the strength to do much of anything. I've been feeling guilty about my little furry companion here because I just haven't even had the energy to play with him, so he's getting bored.
Yeah, I haven't had much energy either, but they say that fatigue is a really big deal with the shingles, so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, with any kind of virus, they might be able to help suppress the symptoms, but really all you can do is try to rest and, your body's got to fight it off on its own.
Yeah, well, they did give me a cyclovir. Okay, thanks, Mark. Hey,
Don't know what that
Mikey.
one does.
Oh, Mikey, you missed my rant about about a person I had in the comment section that was bitching about me being a bitch, and I'm like, if you don't like me being a bitch, you don't have to be on my channel, you know? But anyway, uh, so anyway, sorry.
Oh,
Uh, I got major problems with allergies.
yeah, I've always had allergy and sinus issues too, which, it's like even with this now, they're asking me when did I first have symptoms, and it's like It's really hard to say because most of the symptoms are things I normally had with my allergies anyway. So until it really started kicking my butt, I just wasn't really aware I had anything more than my normal stuff for this time of year.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about having, normal stuff, you know. You really don't know what's normal and what's not until it starts kicking your butt, and then it's about too late. But the doctor did give me a cyclovir to um to shorten the course, because I got it in time. Hang on.
Yeah,
So
they put
anyway,
they put me on a short course of prednisone, but I finished that on Sunday, and it's kind of like I didn't really see an improvement, but it's kind of the question of would it have gotten worse if I didn't have it?
yeah, yeah.
You can never tell with a lot of stuff like that.
So, Mikey, how do you deal with trolls, my dude? I'm sure you deal with a lot of trolls. But yeah,
Yeah, I just had the one troll who popped up and tried to start religious arguments when I don't remember what the topic we were on, but it had nothing to do with religion. And I just said I didn't care whether or not his God existed, and he just kind of wandered
oh,
away confused.
you should send that troll over to my channel, perp. That's
And like I
perfect
say,
for my
he was only
channel.
in there for 2 days, and he wandered off confused.
He's perfect for my channel. He or she's perfect for my channel. Yeah, that's my wheelhouse, religion, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe this person was like, "You hate religion." Well, yeah, what gave you that idea? But I don't hate people.
Yeah. Well, I hate religion because it keeps getting involved in politics. If they would keep it out of making public policies, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Well, I hate religion because it harms people, you know? I mean, it really, really harms people.
Yeah.
And that I don't mind the progressive religious types or even the moderate religious types. I don't mind those. I mind the fundamentalist whack jobs is what I mind.
Well, yeah, the further they get to that end of the spectrum, the worse. Yeah, but yeah, it does a lot of harm, and sometimes in subtle ways that people aren't going to get. But mostly, it's because people get so entrenched in it for their whole life that there are things that they don't question.
Yeah, like I was in it for like 40 years, religion in general, not fundamentalism per se, but religion in general for 40 years. And then, you know, all of a sudden, it wasn't like all of a sudden, I mean, Christians for some reason, Christians who've always been Christian are like, well, you were never a Christian. If you're not a Christian now, then you were never a Christian. I understand that because that's what their religion says, you know.
Well, and that's part of the problem with Christians, is it's like defining what is a true Christian for them. There's, what, over 4,000 different denominations. And
Right,
how much do they
and
actually agree on?
right, and there are some denominations that are like accepting of other denominations as being Christian, And then there are denominations that are like, nope, if you're not in our church, you're not a Christian. Like, what? Not everybody can be in your church, right? Oh, Mark, it was Joseph Rutherford, second president of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Actually, he was the first president of Jehovah's Witnesses because he's the one that gave them the name Jehovah's Witnesses before it was the Bible students. But Joseph Rutherford said, religion is a snare and a racket. Boy, was he ever right.
But yeah, it very much is. People want quick, easy solutions. And especially that when things get complicated, when they can't have black and white solutions.
Yeah, but I mean, but but realistically, things aren't black and white. They just aren't. Most things are
Yeah.
a shade of gray.
Yeah, very little in the world is ever black and white.
Yeah, and I, you know, ever since I started coming out of religion, I've noticed that more and more. You can't just say this is this and this is this. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So anyway, I don't, I
Yeah, well, I started out Catholic, but in between, I went through 25 years looking at all sorts of different branches of paganism. And that's one thing that the pagans, you know, don't seem to do the black and white thinking as much. There's a lot more nuance involved in things.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I actually have a lot of respect for the pagans, you know.
And pagan is a very broad umbrella, thousands of really unrelated religions. So yeah, there are a couple of denominations out there that are just as far off the extremes,
Yeah,
but in general, they seem to give a bit more thought to what they're doing and why they're doing it.
right, right. Hey, Will, what up? And another thing is Snuffy's saying they want heaven for themselves.
Hmm.
You know, well, that's true, but you know, I who this is what I'm thinking, I mean, I don't want to live forever. I don't want heaven. Forever would be very, very boring.
Well, if I take the Christian views of heaven and hell as they portray them, I really would much rather go to hell because I think an eternal torture would be easier to tolerate than eternal boredom.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are you gonna do? You gonna sit on a cloud and strum your harp? I
Well,
know that's
especially the
not.
fundamentalists, it's pretty much, yeah, you're just up there to praise God all day.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so we've got this megalomaniacal God, right? You know, and I don't even believe in that God, right? But I mean, he's if he exists, he's already proven he's megalomaniacal because he,
Yeah.
according to fundamentalists, he flooded the whole world. Of course, let's not get into the it could never happened, but,
Well, I mean, the 10 commandments, most of them go by. The first 4 are just how to praise God. So it's like half of what he considered the most critical instructions are how to worship him. If that isn't
well,
an
right,
ego,
and R and Rob points this out, those aren't even the quote unquote 10 commandments.
yeah,
Because the
I
10
know they're just
commandments,
the ones that most people think of.
yeah,
But
I mean, the 10 commandments, one of them is don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. It's like, what?
yeah, that's strangely specific.
It's like, what? Oh my god. And it's just like I don't know. I don't know. It's I just came on here you know, mainly just, to bitch about that person about my troll.
Mhm.
But like I said, I am a bitch. I admit that, you know? If you don't like me being a bitch, you don't have to watch my channel, you know? But
I don't know, what is a bitch? Is it anything other than a woman who has strong opinions?
probably not. Um, but yeah, Snuffy, it would be an eternal daily grind. Sing God's praises. Wouldn't that wear out your vocal cords?
See, that there's a lot
But
of abstractions about heaven that they don't really explain about whether it's a physical place or a spiritual place. Because when you start asking questions, neither of those really works.
yeah, yeah. And it's just um well if you start asking they don't want you to ask questions, first of all, because if you start asking questions, the house of cards just comes tumbling right on down.
Yep.
That's why they don't want you asking questions, you know? Um,
Yeah, that's why I didn't last long in the church.
well, I lasted 40 years,
Oh,
and but then I wised up, so, hey, better late than never, right?
when I was 8, the senior priest asked my mother to stop sending me to the children's Bible study because I was asking questions that made the nuns uncomfortable.
Really?
So, yeah, they got rid of me pretty quick. They tried again when I was a teenager. They tried to get me to do the CCD thing and to try and get me confirmed in that, and it's like, yeah, that didn't last long either.
Ah, Snuffy, I did not know that. Is that for real? Are you for real?
Hmm. I had not heard that interpretation of it.
No, me neither.
Yeah, Snuffy, if you've got more information on that, I'd love to see an article about that.
He watches they watch too many documentaries. Well, to be fair, Snuffy, I watch documentaries too. We
Ah,
just
yep.
don't watch the same documentaries, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
actually
more
what
of
my
a
fiance and I had really formed a binding on was, just a love of learning, just learning new things, even if they had no application. That we
yeah.
would watch documentaries on the DVR, and we'd keep pausing it to discuss a point or rewind it to see that bit again. It'd take us 3 hours to watch an hour documentary.
Uh yeah, I like nature documentaries and crime documentaries. Although I don't really like like unsolved crime. I don't I don't like things that don't have an answer yet.
Mm.
I mean, when I'm watching like when I'm watching something on TV or on the computer, you know, life doesn't have answers. That's interesting. That's what makes life interesting. You know,
Yep.
why are we living if we have all the answers? That's what I want to ask the religious people. If you have all the answers, why are you even living?
Yeah, I mostly go for the mostly nature shows, but also some history.
Hey, Godless Owen, you want to come in?
Hey, Will, how are you going tonight? Yeah, I suspended my streams for this week just because, like I say, it's like I sleep, I'm awake for a couple hours, I wind up going back to bed. So I'm not setting any alarms this week, and I'm not making any promises that I'll be awake at the right times to run my streams.
Yeah. Um, well, like I said, I've been sleeping a lot because fatigue goes along with the shingles. So, you
Yep.
know, but
Yeah, I got a feeling we're functioning on a very similar capacity at this point.
yeah, probably. But another thing is, you know, when people say, don't you want to live forever?" Um, no. And then people look at me like I've grown two heads or something. You don't want to live forever? No. If something is infinite, it doesn't have any value. The value of something comes from it not being infinite.
Yeah.
That's where value comes from.
Well, the things that are most valuable are things that are rare or scarce, things that you know you're going to run out of.
Right. You know? And so and and another thing is you never see these Christians who believe in eternal life. You never see them in any hurry to get there. I mean, like, if it's so wonderful, why aren't they in a hurry to get there?
I don't know, maybe it's secretly why they don't want to get vaccinated.
Oh, good old natural selection.
Yeah,
At
again,
least
I wouldn't
we
care about that if they weren't taking other people out with them, especially children.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because kids like, I think kids under 12 can't get vaccinated,
For the
but
most
kids
part, it depends. I think some states are starting to do it, and in Minnesota now, they have approved it as being optional for children 5 to 11.
ah,
But I know in some states that they're not doing it at all.
okay.
But still, for kids under 5, if somebody brings it into the house, there's nothing. So if they have an older brother or sister who's in school, or just a parent who, doesn't want to wear a mask when they're out in public and they pick it up and bring it back to the kids.
That's interesting, Snuffy. But, my thing about the anti-vaxxers was, well, why can't we just make the thing airborne then? And I guess that's a just a problem with the way the vaccine works. We can't make the vaccine airborne for some reason. But that would solve everything.
Yeah, well, the vaccine has to go directly into the blood because it's not like an entire virus. What the vaccine is, from my understanding, is basically it's a part of the protein that makes the virus shell. So it gets your system to understand to recognize the protein that's on the shell of all the virus cells.
Okay. I got you.
So then if your system encounters that in the real world, then it just starts busting up any cell that's got that protein layer.
Oh, okay, I see. So they can't make it airborne then.
No, you know, I don't know, maybe they could, but whatever the concentration it would require or something. I don't know that much about it. I'm not my field of expertise. I'm just reading articles.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's like
There you go.
I'm with you. If an adult doesn't want to get vaccinated, I don't give a shit. Let natural selection take care of them. But for God's sake, get your kids vaccinated.
Well, and I'm fighting this, and I've had other friends who fought it. We were all completely vaxxed when we got it.
Mhm.
So, all the people who won't get vaccinated are just walking petri dishes for it to develop new strains, and it's inevitable that sooner or later it's going to develop into a strain that the vaccine's not going to protect other people against.
Right. I don't know, Lisa. But anyway, I'm sorry I'm sorry you've got the virus.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Well, you know, to some extent, viruses are a normal thing and all, but yeah, it's just this was handled so badly, mostly as a matter of why did it become political and, public policy. There was a hell of a lot more they could have done to control it in the early stages.
Well, I can give you a 5-letter answer to that one.
Yeah.
TRUMP.
Yeah, well, he certainly made a good face for it when he didn't want to wear a mask or anything.
And then the two-faced coward got the best treatment available when not it. The
Yep.
fucking moron. So anyway, yeah, I'd bet the anti-vaxxers didn't know that.
Well, and one of the things they didn't give much publicity to was that while he was president, one of the problems was the Secret Service was having problems with not having enough people with security clearance because they constantly had dozens of people out with COVID.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah,
I
he became a menace to everybody who had to work in the building with him.
Yep. And then January 6th happened. And somebody was like, "Well, that wasn't his fault." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Of course it was his fault." Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get political.
Oh, that's fine. It's your stream. Go wherever you want with it.
But anyway, but yeah, I
God
just
hates
wanted.
ham and cheese sandwiches. Sorry.
Are you not able to, Lisa?
I don't know. That sounded like a brag.
So
I'd been
anyway,
trying to be real careful, but I had somebody who lied to me about being exposed to it, and guess what? A week later, I had it. Because
What do you
even though I
mean?
was,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
Uh, Trusty Ape, what do you mean, what is it? I came on to bitch about somebody who was, um, trying to bitch about me, um, spew quote, unquote, "spewing hatred" on my channel, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And, I'm like, no, if I did that, YouTube would take me down. So, yeah, try again." And then I said, and then I answered them and I said, "Well, give me an example." "Well, there's too many times you did for me to give you one example." I'm like, wait a minute. You're bitching at me because you say I'm quote unquote spewing hatred and you don't have one goddamn fucking example to give me." It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, if you're gonna come and bitch, have some point to make.
I mean, exactly. And the thing that tells me that they don't have a point with this is that they said, "Well, it you've had too many times." Um, okay. Then if I've had too many times where that's been, then obviously you should remember one, right?
Yeah, well, that's, you're asking for an example, not a comprehensive list. So if there are 15 things 15 things you did, they should be able to name at least one or two of them.
Exactly. Name me one. Well, I there's just so many. I didn't ask you for so many. I asked you for one. If there's a plethora to choose from, certainly you have one. But
Sorry,
yeah.
trying to mute my mic every time I cough.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to deal with very bored kitty cat here.
Oh, I have two cats, so well, my older cat really doesn't like to play anymore. I mean, she does sometimes, but most of the time not, because she's like 14 or 15 years old. And my younger cat wants to like play with her all the time. And she's like, "Get out. Get out of my fucking way, you little brat," you know?
Yeah, that's I'd have to think now how old Sammy actually is. I think he must be about 12 now. I'd have to check, but and I thought he was just kind of getting older and mellowing out, but actually, since we moved to the new apartment, he's been a lot more active than he used to be.
Huh.
So I've actually been thinking, that maybe he needs to have a companion to chase him around. But unfortunately, the last three cats that he lived with all bullied him. So,
Mm.
I'm kind of cautious because I don't want him to like spend all his time hiding under the bed. But
Yeah.
it would be nice if he had somebody to play with and wasn't bored all the time.
Well, most cats don't want a friend, though. Most cats don't want another cat.
Well, they
But
are social animals, and if you're going to get a new kitten, it's better to get two together. Bringing a new one in when there's already one established is a very different situation, and you have to play that very carefully. But if you're going to adopt a kitten, it's always best to take two from the same litter.
Yeah. Like um when I got my second cat, I wasn't planning on keeping him, right? But he was 3 weeks old and he fell into a window well
Mm.
and I found him and I was like he was hungry, so I was like, okay, well I gotta save him, because I don't know whether mom's gonna be coming back anytime soon for him or not, right? So anyway, I picked him up and put him in a little blanket and we got to the pet store just in time. I told my friend, I said we need to go to the pet store for some milk for him, and she said, "Well, why can't we go to the grocery store?" And I looked at her and I said, "He needs cat milk." And
Mhm.
she looked at me with a surprised look on her face. She says, "Cats make milk?" And I said, yeah, they're mammals." I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of, a lot of people just don't think about things enough to connect the dots.
Cows and people are the only things that make milk. Okay. You know. But anyway, oh, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, if people don't want to hear me bitch, they don't have to. It's not like I'm saying you got to watch my channel, right? But anyway, um,
Well, that's the thing about YouTube. There's channels out there for everyone. So, if you see something you don't like, just unsubscribe. You don't have to look at it anymore.
yeah. I mean, I, I'm glad they told me. I mean, I guess I'm glad they told me. Hey,
Oh, hey,
Doug,
Will.
what's up?
Hey, how's it going? You guys hear me?
Yeah.
You sound fine.
Awesome. I'm doing laundry, so it might sound a bit weird in here. But you were talking about randos who hate you for no reason, and I'm your resident expert.
You hate us for no reason?
No, people send me first. It was like, well, when I first came on into the community, I would talk about sex a lot. So I would
Uh-huh.
get a lot of explicit pictures from people. And now it's everybody with an opinion who doesn't like me wants to send me a DM on Twitter.
So, godless, I've been asking people, have you ever heard hatred come out of my mouth? I mean, for
No.
people, not for religion. I hate religion. I can tell you that right now. But for people,
No, I actually use your arguments against Christians. So I explicitly listen to your channel.
Yeah, you're good at attacking the bad ideas without making it personal.
oh, thank you.
A
But
long time ago I learned to a Christian approached me and he kind of like started yelling Romans at me and it caught me off guard. So, and I really didn't say anything to him. I paid for my stuff and left. But ever since that day, I was like, I need to get my atheistic apologetics up, At least be ready for when someone comes and yells at me.
yeah, these people, I don't even think this person's a Christian. I don't know. I just think if you don't like me, that's fine. It's no crime
You
in not liking me,
I've evolved. We've all evolved, and I think I've kind of reached that point too. Because there's things that I didn't like, and I used to speak on it. But like, just as is how I would look at someone like, "Who the hell are you?" They should look at me if I'm coming at them with an opinion too, because I'm nobody to them just as much as they are to me.
Yeah, I mean, if I give a fact, I give I back up the facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only things I don't back up are my opinions because they're my goddamn opinions. If you don't like my goddamn opinions, then you don't have to like them, right?
I that's one of my biggest beefs, I guess, with trolls in general. The internet is huge. I go looking for obscure communities just to prove how huge the internet is. And you have to go looking for people to dislike them on YouTube.
Well, unfortunately, I think one of the problems, and I do think this heavily goes, with the strongly religious mindsets of people who get heavily religious don't seem to understand the difference between facts and opinions.
Yeah, but it's happened to even me in the atheist community where I've called out people and all they really did was just really, really, really make me angry. you know,
Oh, no, but I mean that, people who mostly go quoting the Bible for everything
mm.
don't seem to understand that just because somebody has stated an opinion does not make it a fact.
Yeah.
I used to wear a patch. It was a cross with an eye in it, and it said, "We all believe in lies." And that patch started so many fights, I stopped wearing it because a Christian would come up behind me and be like, "What does that mean? Why is there a cross? And why are you disrespecting the cross?" I
Isn't it
think
ironic
sorry.
that isn't it ironic that they claim to be a religion of life and love, but their symbol is a symbol of death?
That's what I was writing in the chat. Like, ever since I was a child, it never made sense to me on how hate-filled and,
Yeah.
like, death worshiping these religions are. But, it's like when I was a kid, they said everyone who doesn't believe in the Catholic religion is going to hell. My first thought was, man, heaven's gonna be really boring with all these idiots there.
Yeah, if Jesus had been beheaded, would they all be wearing an executioner's hat?
Exactly. Exactly. Or if he had been, burnt at the stake, would we all be wearing like a chain with a wood pile on it? The holy wood pile?
Well, I heard this joke once about some man went up to heaven and Saint Peter was showing him around and he says, "Okay, this room is the Baptist room and this room's the Catholic room, right?" And he says, "Now, shh, we have to be real quiet because right here behind this door is the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they think they're the only ones up here."
The- and I would say this with any religion that starts with persecution. Jehovah Witnesses scare me because they're looking for a end of the world scenario where they're the victims, or they feel that they're already there.
Yeah, they
It's
do.
Well, yeah,
scary.
that's pretty much all the fundamentalist Christians.
Yeah. But Stephen
It always
Lett,
comes down to the rapture or something, or the Armageddon. They're waiting for the end of the
yeah,
world.
but Stephen Lett is one of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, and goes, "And this is the last of the last of the last of the last of the last days, shortly before the last of the last days," and I'm like, "Oh God."
And that's
I'm
what I'm
like, we're
saying.
gonna have another Jonestown on our hands.
Ron Parsley said said that Jesus was coming back on 8808. I used to obsessively watch TBN. Marijuana has been legal here for a while. I used to smoke and watch TBN back when I was in high school when it wasn't. But let's see who else. Well, I wasn't in high school in 08, but my whole point is, how many raptures have we survived?
Yeah, the world's ended at least 24 times in my lifetime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I always say this on Purple Show. My father told me that his grandmother said that in 1899, everyone thought the world was going to end and that the rapture was coming. Human beings are just looking for an excuse to get off this planet. And the ironic thing is, if we got along, we could build rockets and get off this planet and all go in different directions.
Yeah. But it's just like, it amazes me, because the Christians are like, well, but you think you come from monkeys. No, we don't think we come from monkeys. We are monkeys and we are apes.
I love that argument. Do you know, have you guys ever heard of Little Light Studios?
No.
I love watching The Enemy. They're an evangelical Christian YouTube channel. They have hundreds of thousands of followers. And I can't say it without laughing. Like, there's an asteroid coming towards us right now. And I don't think it's Apophis, it's something else. And scientists are, they're gonna send nukes up there basically to destroy it. And Little Light Studios said on the YouTube scroll, they're like, why are the governments trying to stop the second coming of Jesus?
Oh
And
my God.
they're
Wow.
all gonna, they want to get us all killed. Like, if we have the means to not be like the dinosaurs, hey, nuke it.
Exactly. I mean, like, okay, so I think it was an asteroid that gave us the moon, right? But
Mhm.
nothing was living here when that asteroid gave us our moon.
It literally resurfaced the planet when that
Yep.
happened. Do you know, we don't think in geological time. As human beings, it's this shallow thing. And I understand. We only think in the span of a human lifetime. Geological time is millions and millions of years,
Right. Well,
And
billions, actually.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, I can't even
Yeah.
fathom it. But my whole point is, like, the moon hit, and then how many hundreds of millions of years did it have to just slowly goop into the moon that we know nowadays,
Yeah. And what I'm sorry, I like making fun of Ken Hovind because so he's he's one of the best people to make fun of, and he's like, well, the moon is receding, and if we take it back to billions of years, if we take it back 6,000 years, it's no big deal. But if we take it back billions of years, well, we know what killed the dinosaurs. They got moon to death. I'm like, oh my fuck, are you serious? No, I mean, he actually said that. The dinosaurs got moon to death. That's what he said.
I recently got into a fight with a young Earth creationist. So all of that is just, those are so easily debunkable. It's not even funny.
I know. It's like, you do know it's not linear, right? And I'm doing another John Pendleton debunk right now. And one of the he's doing the flood. John Pendleton's doing the flood, right?
Mhm.
And just to give you a sneak peek of one of my rebuttals to him is, John, this is the Grand Canyon, okay? And this over here, this canyon is a canyon around Mount St. Helens. This canyon around Mount St. Helens was made by a flood. Does it look anything like the Grand Canyon? Because if it doesn't look anything like the Grand Canyon wasn't made by a flood.
I talk about this all the time. They have young Earth creationist tours at the Grand Canyon. I don't know if I would be calm enough to go on one. I would show up with my national parks book and be like, my book from 25 years ago debunks you guys. Because it has a chart of, like, the eras and all the things that have happened in the Grand Canyon. It's literally, it's a book they give college kids, 18 and 19-year-old kids get this book. Oh, it bothers me that Christians go to the Grand Canyon trying to prove the flood because it literally disproves their entire theory.
Yeah. If it was all done at one time, why is it sorted into such neat, distinctive layers?
Right,
Oh,
exactly. But then another thing is, about the Mount St. Helens Canyon, um, canyons that are made by floods are not vertical like the Grand Canyon is. Canyons that are made by floods are like slopes, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yep.
it's much more.
Well, also, a canyon made by a sudden flood tends to be basically straight. You can see the way the Grand Canyon meanders around.
Exactly, that's the way the glacier just kind of, again, geological time. You know,
Yeah.
I try not to even get in arguments with people like that anymore because it's bad for my blood pressure.
Yeah, the one from Mount St. Helens was just, a bunch of loose sediment. So once it started moving, it just kept flowing in a straight line.
hmm
Hey, Ginger Murder Man.
I just
Oh,
don't
hey,
see
D-Man.
I don't see a point in arguing. And I've said this 100 times. Like, I no longer see a point in arguing with certain types of Christians. I'll talk to someone. I'll tell them how I became an atheist and things like that. But I'm not gonna get into a giant debate because it just goes around in the same arguments and the same rodeo every time. Every time.
Yeah, Matt Powell came on my channel one time like, "You wanna debate, bro?" And I'm like, "No, because I don't do debates." Why would
You
I
know,
wanna debate you? There's nothing to debate.
that's what I'm saying. Like, especially someone like Matt Powell, who is 100% concreted in his ways. If you show me evidence tomorrow, I could be easily swayed. You know, if your God came down with a beard on a cloud throwing lightning bolts, I might have
Yeah,
to believe you. I would be forced to believe that.
but that doesn't mean I'd worship him.
No one's ever asked me the question, but I watched way too much Stargate, and if God ever showed up, I would get 3 of my friends and hop into Alcash and do it like they do in the movies. Because to me, they're like, because we're humans, we always think of this and this corporeal God or something that's going to show up and yell at us. Like, if that happened, that's not God.
Yeah, yeah.
If something
Well,
shows up in a spaceship, it just has more technology than you do.
yeah. And, I was talking, I was talking I remember I was talking to somebody in the comment section of on on a video, not one of my videos, but on another video, and I was saying, um, there are some atheists that don't believe in evolution, and then they're like, "Well, then how do they think the universe came into existence?" I like, "Well, some of them believe aliens did it." Well, then
Uh,
they're not atheists, and I'm like, yeah, they are because aliens aren't gods. What the
Actually,
fuck are you talking about?
I was just talking about this with a really good friend of mine 25 years ago. I gave him some wibbly wobbly explanation of what I thought creation was, and he was like, "You're an atheist." And because of those words, he kind of sent me on a journey because I didn't believe in God, so to speak, but I was still trying to be nice and not say the
Mhm.
words that I don't believe in God, basically.
Yeah.
And hiding behind spiritual mumbo jumbo always fits in that and always fits there. But it was just being polite to Christians, basically. Because
Yeah.
where I'm from, like my mom, it still hurts her feelings that I don't believe or identify with any religion. It really hurts her feelings.
I can well, you know, but you can't help what you believe or don't believe.
And I don't talk. I try not to talk. I went through my angry atheist phase, like a stereotype, and
I'm
I'm
still
not.
there.
No, see, that's why I don't talk about the Bible though, because it makes me angry, and that's why I've learned to. That's why I watch you, because I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna shut them down with like 4 sentences that I learned from Lisa. Because it's so easily debunked. To me, it's like, because they're arguing the book, and I don't believe in their spirituality. I don't believe in any of it. So once you get down to the book, I'm gonna shut you down real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, what's your evidence? And then they go quoting a Bible verse, and I'm like, the I don't believe in your book. And then they'll be like, well, the fool is said in his heart there is no God. Excuse me, didn't you hear me? I don't believe in your book.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, all the time I talk about my job and the ranch and the property where my parents own. You know what? If someone shows up, I can actually take you there. I'm the kind of person where I need proof like that. Like, you have to prove, like, if especially something grandiose. I hate to get all Judge Judy on you, but if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. You know,
Yeah,
I'm a buzzkill that way.
Yeah.
it's just so I don't know.
Well, researching history made me even worse about it because it's like, I started to realize how much I even had to question books a lot.
I'm actually on that right now because a lot of the stories were stolen from the Greeks that were stolen from the Egyptians, and it's like this reciprocal thing. So it's like, what do a lot of religions really believe? Are they praying to Horus and Isis? Are they praying to Mithra? Like what do you really? I don't know. It's one of those weird things. They all kind of piggyback off of each other.
Well, I just mean
Yeah,
just as
like
far as, being
most
able to
Christians
find
don't even
historical information.
most Christians don't even realize that the Noah story is taken from Atrahasis.
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I've been researching a lot of stuff like that because I watched this African guy who's like, "Let me tell you about history." And it goes back to what I'm saying about like geological time, because we think of Alexander the Great as an ancient, but when he got to Egypt, like, that civilization was already on the way decline.
Yeah,
Like, they were beyond ancient by the time he got there, you know?
right. But then,
Oh, sorry, deconverted, man. I'm a bit of a nihilist. But like I said, if anything was proved to me, I would definitely, I would be, I'd be forced to believe it, but I'm definitely one of those people who, believe I'm not nothing, but I don't believe in much at all.
I believe deconverted man is a giant lobster in a man's suit.
Hey, down the street from my house, there's a Statue of Liberty trying to sell taxes, and there's the guy in a crow suit trying to do the same. So a lobster suit isn't too far around here.
yes, the Atrahasis is part of the Gilgamesh epic.
And that's one thing I love, listening to these stories as stories. Like, Gilgamesh is an awesome, awesome story. But I don't look at it as gospel or something that actually happened. I love Moby Dick, but I don't hey, Robert X, but I don't force people to read it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think there's some things you can learn from the Bible. I mean, not what the Christians think you can learn, but I think there's some things you can learn from the Bible. But is there anything you can learn from the Bible that you can't learn elsewhere? Well, No.
So I say this all the time. Like, I still carry all the values that I learned from when I was a kid at church, but you could have put that in any setting and taught me the same values. I could have been raised a pagan or a Muslim or anything, and they would have had the same values. I have a friend who was raised Orthodox Muslim, and he's just like me because we're from the same town. But he has a lot of really good values. But he's an atheist, but he's very well rooted.
Yeah.
So I don't know. A good lesson is a good lesson, whether it even comes in the Bible or, like I said, Moby Dick, The Stand. I love Stephen King.
Yeah, Robert, as I often point out, we know that during the Civil War, the city of Atlanta got burned. That does not make Gone with the Wind a historical reference.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or, London exists. We know London exists. That doesn't mean Harry Potter's true.
Are you sure London exists? I thought the UK ceased to exist when I powered down my computer.
I've been there twice. My parents, I've been there twice. It's definitely they're different.
I'd love to go there sometime, but I doubt I'll ever be able to afford to take a trip overseas.
It's one of those things where like, we all speak the same language, but we live on different planets. The UK is an awesome place. I definitely recommend to go, but it's different than America.
Oh yeah.
But I've been to Kansas. That's way different than California. I've been to New York. It just depends on where you go.
Yeah.
So I'm not dogging any city, and there's great people that live in London.
Okay, well, I'll be back. You guys keep talking. I'll be back in a minute.
How do you feel, Purple?
Yeah, I feel okay for a few hours at a time. Mostly I sleep an awful lot. I mean, like sleeping at least 16 hours a day.
Yeah. I'm sure they have you on some pretty heavy drugs like prednisone and amoxicillin.
Well, they gave me a course of prednisone, which I finished on Sunday. But since that's over with and I seem to be getting worse again, I tried to call the clinic yesterday, and somebody was supposed to call me back, and I didn't get the call back, so I'll have to call them again tomorrow and see if there's something more they can do.
Does somebody who as somebody who lives off of that stuff, it's a lie because it's a steroid. It makes you feel better, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel better. And then when the drug goes out, you're like, wow, I'm really, really sick.
Yeah, but even when I was on the prednisone, like, Saturday was really one of my worst days. And I've been on the prednisone for like 3 days then.
Yikes. That stuff's like a wonder drug to me. That's why it scares me when I hear you talk about COVID, because it'll put me out. Like, I'll be done if I catch COVID.
Like I say, my fiance had really bad asthma, so they put her on prednisone on a fairly regular basis. If she wound up in the ER with an asthma attack, they'd give her a course of prednisone.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm so sped up in the first place, is because I'm on like either low doses of that or an imitation version of it.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, they have all these new wonder drugs because we live in America and they use us as lab rats. I knew a doctor who flat out said that pharmaceutical companies come to him and they're like, because I would be like, man, you have 1 million pens and cups in your house, and they would always give him free stuff, trying to entice him to come in and go to their seminar or, look into their new drug they have.
Yeah, and Snuffy's saying hydrate. And yeah, that's actually been one of my biggest challenges is I just don't think I can take liquids in fast enough for the amount that I'm losing.
You got to still hydrate, though. That's as someone who's a bad breather, a non-breather, you got to keep drinking.
Oh, no, but that's what I mean. Just for the amount of time I'm asleep, whenever I'm awake, I've got a water bottle right next to me and I'm constantly working on it. But
You
You
know,
know, it's just a matter of with the amount of mucus and everything I'm losing, I'm wondering if I'm still not taking in fluids fast enough.
I'm a complete hypocrite. I just thought about it right now because under my vest, I'm wearing a Minnesota Paving Company sweatshirt, and they gave me a bunch of free stuff so they could they were putting up towers and they had to ask permission to come on the property. And I was like, if you give me a sweatshirt, and they did, they gave me a bunch of free stuff. But they had
Um,
legal right to be there. But
yeah, the only company logo you would likely ever see me wear is Menards, and that is only because they give me the free T-shirts.
you know what?
Mm.
I'm not since I'm all about proof. There's my Minnesota sweatshirt. Great guys,
Gotcha.
great crew. They were all from Minnesota. It made me laugh. They had to hire people from Minnesota to put up a tower in California.
That is odd.
Yeah, that is odd.
It's a very specific skill. You know, and they probably do it all around the country.
Oh, okay.
They put up cell towers basically through the mountains, and quite honestly, most California companies don't even want to do it. It's hard work because you're trudging through places that don't have roads, that don't, and then I'm sure someone from Minnesota laughs when I say that we have mountains here.
You know, when I was living in New York, my roommate was working on the cell phone emitters, the relay antennas, the ones that didn't meet quality control, or ones that came back as defective. He was troubleshooting them to find out what they had to do to make them functional again.
Oh wow.
D-Man, what hypothesis are you talking about?
So, who asked me that question? Oh, Deacon Riddiff, man. No, I haven't got to that point yet of making stuffed animals. I'm almost there. Like I said, I find weird people on the internet, and I found this woman in the UK who makes these dolls called Luna Lapton, or I gotta look it up. But it comes with a book and instructions, so I might do it. So maybe I'm really into sewing, so probably.
I will have to scan some old photographs because I haven't made much clothes, but I made a lot of stuffed animals. I had a whole line of dinosaurs that I used to make, and I made a couple of hundred of them over the years.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of those things. Like one day I got tired of my pillow and my cell phone. It was a big deal. So, as Purple knows, I made a video about it, but I made a pillow with a pocket in it. So now my cell phone doesn't fall out while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I've got. I think it was 17 ribbons that I won in the Minnesota State Fair over the course of several years. I got a first place one year for making a family of dolphins.
Oh, that's a big deal. Oh,
Well,
that's awesome.
The thing was that the year I made those, one of the dolphins at the Minnesota Zoo was pregnant, and we didn't know whether or not she was going to deliver before the fair started. So I made the mother dolphin with a little pocket on her tummy with a strip of Velcro, so I could stick the baby inside there, and they could pull the baby out if she had the baby in time for the fair.
Aww. That reminds. You know what? Now that we're having this conversation, I might make stuffed animal because I want to have a baby Shamu. When I was a kid, I had a bunch of stuffed animals from SeaWorld. So I might.
Yeah, I did too.
That baby dolphin was completely hand sewn because the thing was only like 2 inches long.
Oh,
And working on that kind of detail level nearly drove me nuts.
Tell me about it. That's why. Like right now, I'm repatching a really old jacket, and I had to take a break because it's really intricate when you're taking it off, taking all the threads off. It's different than when you use a machine, you're just blap, wrap, and you get it right through,
Oh, I heard a question that was kind of interesting, and I want to see what you think about it. If you take an old ship, like a really old ship, and you it's totally wood, you know, and you replace it one plank at a time. Is the new ship, is it still the same ship?
Okay,
Oh yeah,
so
the ship of Theseus problem. If you replace it one board at a time.
so Doctor Who, in I think it's the Peter Capaldi, his first real episode, he deals with this, where he's talking to the bad guy at the end of the episode. The bad guy takes body parts from people to maintain, and Doctor Who basically says, "Okay, if I start off with a broom, then I replace the handle, then I replace the broom, then I replace the handle again, and I replace the broom. Is it the same broom? No." No, it's not the same. That's it. It's I don't know. I guess it's one of those philosophical questions, you know.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. There's a few warships that would be like that'd be cool if they brought the Iowa back or like you know.
Well, in World War II, the British battle cruisers Repulsor and Renown were nicknamed Refit and Repair because they had so many things replaced between the wars.
I was about to say my dad was on the Bennington, and I want to say that like that thing was a decommissioned World War II era boat that he was on during during the Nam era. I have to
Well,
look that up now.
all of the battleships that were in Pearl Harbor at the time of the attack were all from World War I.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's what I have to look that up now because my pops was an engineer and he'd always talk about how like rickety it was, and he was hard of hearing because he was always down by the diesel engines.
Well, I mean, battleships were a major expense for any navy, even for a country the size of the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
So most battleships, had a career of around 50 years.
USS Bennington. Wow, look at the Benny. Here from 19. Yeah, it was. Sorry.
No, just so there were quite a lot of ships that served in both world wars.
It went from 1944 to 1971.
Wow.
Yeah, and my dad was on the Benny. He joined when he was 17, so it was 1957. Because his mom took him to join the Navy because there really was, like he grew up in the South and there was no future at all. And he was on the Benny, and he said he went to Alaska, and he went from Georgia his whole life to Alaska, and it was culture shock.
Yeah, my dad's been all around the world because he was in the Air Force. So he's been like to Japan, South Korea, been all over the United States, been to Britain, been to Germany. So yeah, all around the world.
Okay, Snuffy's got a good point. If you just keep patching, it's the same boat because replacing one part at a time will never eliminate systematic or design problems. That's a valid point.
Okay, but like in Galactica, they were replacing parts as it was in outer space. Is it the same ship? It's one of those philosophical, again, another philosophical question.
Yeah.
I'm a total sci-fi geek.
I'm not too much sci-fi, but I do like fantasy.
Is there like what would you consider Star Trek? Do you watch Star Trek?
No, but I like Star Wars.
Okay, so would you consider Star Wars fantasy and Star Trek science fiction?
Maybe I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like analyze it like that. It's really interesting to me because
Yeah.
The original Star Wars trilogy were westerns in outer space.
Blake Seven, I know I obsessively talk about it, but Blake Seven was the same thing. It was supposed to be the Magnificent Seven in space. That was all the actors talk about it, because of the wonders of YouTube. I can go back and watch all the interviews. They were just copying all the successful shows, I don't blame them. In some of my videos, like I'll see someone that makes a video and I'm like, ooh, 20,000 people watch that video. I'm gonna make the same thing they made.
There's a great video out there. I wish I knew how to find it, but it shows you that the Death Star attack in the first Star Wars is literally shot by shot a recreation of a World War II bomber movie.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
So, Godless, what do you think of my John Pendleton debunks?
I really like your new debunks. I really do. And I like being introduced to people I've never heard of, because these people have bad arguments and there's a lot of people listening to them.
Yeah.
There is a lot, because after I watch your video, I'll go I do the same thing with most stuff. Like I'll watch your video, then I go look up the person, and they just, it's just bad arguments. My whole thing is it's my naivete that I'm shocked that people still buy this stuff in the modern era, though, and they drink that Kool-Aid wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Well, I was lied to, which is why I told this person I was lied to. That's why I'm mad. That's why I'm angry.
See, but
the person was like, I'm surprised you didn't try to justify your anger. I'm like, well, I can justify my anger if you're so pissy about not getting a justification for my anger. Here's the justification for my anger. They lied to me. That's not what I said, but I'm more polite in the comments, but that's basically what I said.
I feel the same way. Even to my family members that still believe in religion, people like I was shunned because of sexuality. Like, nah, religion and we have problems. We are not friends. I try not to be like them. See, that's my thing. All of the a lot of Christian and Catholics too, because that's my experience, they project. They'll say, what about this and this? You're the ones doing it. You're the ones who are doing these things that you're saying that are so bad. I never understood that. I never understood that. So, keep putting them out to the light. I can't stand those people.
Yeah. Like, Kent Hovind, like he says, you believe you come from a rock. And I'm like, no, Kent. I'm like, okay, what do you think dust is?
Yeah.
Seriously, what do you think dust is?
Yeah, you're the guy who's telling us that man was made from mud.
Yeah, don't even. I used to have this argument with Muslims with the whole man was made of clay argument. It's the same argument. Oh. And that's the thing. A lot of these religions, the big three, are quite literally saying the same thing. They all hate each other. They all have the, considering two of them, they're reading from the same book, so to speak.
Well, all three of them are. The Old Testament, for the most part, is the same for all three of them.
True. That's why we call them Abrahamic. Before Ben Shapiro ruined Judeo-Christian. Judeo-Christian was originally a World War II, after World War II invention. It was to say, hey, it was more of a solidarity thing. Like, you're just like us. I'm Christian, you're Jewish. We're the same thing. And it's been blown up into this, like, this evil right-wing camaraderie. Like, hey, if you're Judeo-Christian, you have to hate these people and all, and this, and let me tell you why. It's become so overblown.
Yeah.
Well, it was more of a peace thing.
I'm interested in where religion came from to begin with,
Oh, very much so.
And it it started out well. Actually, the neuroscientists think it's just a condition of being human. Like, even though some people don't have religion, that it's just a product of consciousness, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to I like Logic.
Mm-hmm.
You know him?
Oh yeah.
And he was doing a Carl Baugh, and there was this quote unquote mathematician who can't do math. No, seriously. No, but seriously. On the thing, and the mathematician was like, well, they're saying that modern man came on the scene 500,000 years ago. I'm like, where did you get that? Nobody says modern man on the scene 500,000 years ago, you idiot. I mean, nobody says that. It's 200,000 years ago.
I think a lot of the time these guys hear snippets of something and they run away with it. A lot of the gosh, it's been a while. I used to argue with young Earth creationists like 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of their arguments were just based on they take one little fact and run away with it, not realizing all the other factors that made that thing exist in the first place. You know? I feel
Yeah, well,
sorry
some
for
of them you can tell all they understand about human evolution was reading one or two articles from National Geographic.
Oh, very much so. And the young Earth creationist movement started taking traction because there were people who were publishing papers. But what they didn't know is that academia was letting them do this to be like, hey, don't be like these guys. And so it's really sad. There's like a few published authors that have, they've made some compelling arguments, but then like a geologist is like, let me introduce you to geology. you know.
Yeah, and one thing that always gets me is that the young earthers always say, well, evolution says that the earth is millions of years old. No, evolution doesn't say that. Geology says that. And then they
Mhm.
say, but millions of years is needed for evolution. Well, yeah, that's true, but we knew the earth was billions of years old long before the theory of evolution came about. I mean, this is something either they don't understand or they don't want to understand. And I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Oh, I remembered my old argument. It was about trimatic vision. Like our eyeballs evolved. The way we see and everything, it evolved over time. And if the
Hmm.
earth was of a certain age, we would not be able to see the way that we do now at
Oh,
all.
yeah. And our eyes are backwards. I,
Yes,
I always I
I
always
love
bring
that.
that up to the young earthers. I'm like, our eyes are backwards playing
Same
that
as a
horn.
camera. Same as
Yeah.
if you've ever taken apart a telescope or a camera, it's the same exact principle. Everything this is a total stoner thing where you tell someone and they're like, "Whoa." But everything that we see is really upside down. So
Yes.
we are really upside down. I love that.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
love saying that.
yeah, everything we see is upside down and our brains have to flip it right
Yep.
side up.
Everything. That's why if you've ever taken a hallucinogen, it'll break the fourth wall real quick.
No, I've never taken a hallucinogen.
Oh, it's fun for about 5 minutes. The other 4 hours are terrifying. True, Native. It's so true. So true. The
But
Bible.
the other thing that really gets me about young earthers is the Bible doesn't even say how old the Earth is.
Oh, no, I agree. That one gets me going too. That one gets me going. I agree. That's why I don't argue with them anymore. It's kind of like, who was that flat earther that everybody made fun of, where he thought he was having a serious documentary, but they were really just making fun of the guy? Perp, do you remember? Oh, what
No,
was
I
his
I
don't.
name?
remember the chicken suit. I forget the name.
I
Um,
don't deal with flat earthers. Young
see, but
earthers is as much stupid as I can deal with.
that's how I treat young Earth creationists now. Like, no, this has all been debunked already. No, get out of here. Oh, so sad. It's so sad. You know, and it wasn't until I got online did I realize that these movements had traction. I thought it was just, you know, the echoes of weird people, but there's people that really believe the earth is flat or the earth is
Yeah.
10,000 years old.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did not
but you
believe
know,
flat Earth was something anyone took seriously until I was on YouTube.
Same.
yeah. Well, actually, the flat Earth was a thought experiment to begin with, and then it just somehow got out of hand.
With all the probes and everything that we've all the pictures we have of Earth, like, you know, and that's another thing. Because I grew up as a kid of Rocketdyne and NASA, because my dad worked for those companies, I don't like arguing things that our species came together to prove. First thing we did was turn a camera on Earth. Hey, look, the Earth is round. Welcome to the universe. Oh, it
And we
bothers
are
me.
the center of it.
Yes.
Imagine that.
Oh,
Well-
that's always bothered me. Sorry, Bert.
And when they're claiming that these conspiracies have gone on for, hundreds of years, it's like, really, in all those generations, we don't have any deathbed confessions.
Exactly. It's crazy. That's in this is why in the past like 6 months I've stopped arguing with Christians. I told you I got into it with a William Lane Craig protege. I jumped on his in his chat a few times and would get into it. It's just they're stuck in their ways. Especially the bread tube Christian guys. Like those half of those guys are literally getting paid to go on YouTube and spout their propaganda.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Mm.
a lot of young Earth pastors are young Earth pastors because that's what gets them paid. That's what brings in the money. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, call me old fashioned, but I am not going to lie just to line my goddamn pockets.
Oh, William Lane Craig has 181,000 subscribers. Or his
How come-
organization does.
Okay, how come that idiot has 181,000 subscribers and I can't even get 1.5K?
I think about that all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, what are these idiots doing that I'm not? Do I need to go online and just start spouting nonsense? You know? And it just shocks.
Unfortunately, spouting hate really sells.
Ugh. Let's look up the other guy that
You
I
know,
got in an argument with.
If you can get the us and them thing going, if you can demonize another group, that's really what always really builds up their numbers.
The guy I used to argue with has 2,000 subscribers. But he's part of that whole, he's part of a whole group because he interviews William Lane Craig all the time and Josh. It's the bald guy, not Josh Fehrenstein, the psycho from YouTube, but it's this bald, skinny guy who's total California preacher. I can tell just by looking at him and his style. Like, ooh, you live in Southern California somewhere.
I don't know who you're talking about.
There's this guy, Ryan Pauly. He has 2,000 subscribers. He grew a beard and he looks like he's in Custard's army now. Holy cow. He looks like he's part of the Virginia Regulars. Oh,
Okay, later, D-Man.
Bye, D-Man.
bye,
you know,
D-Man.
you know what gets me? They say that quote unquote evolutionists um make a computer generated images to back up our theories and all that, right? But then they go and they say, but this picture of Civil War soldiers holding up a pterodactyl is real. I'm like, are you fucking with me?
If it's on the internet, it's someone's probably lying.
Yeah.
I again, I sometimes I have to go back to the principle of the simple. Sometimes, if it's too good to be true, it is. And if a Union soldier held up a pterodactyl, they would have dragged that thing back to the White House, and it would be sitting in the Natural History Museum. Its bones would be, at least,
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so. Oh, Robert X, I'll miss you too. Robert X has to go to work.
Bye, Robert.
Okay. Bye, Robert.
It's one of those things. Again, with conspiracy theories, Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this all the time. Do you know how much human beings cannot keep their mouths shut? Like, if we had a Stargate or something like that was really going on, do you know how many people would be talking about it, even if they were told not to? I knew someone that worked at Area 51, and he didn't tell me exactly what he did, but he told me a lot of stuff that I felt he shouldn't have. So it's one of those things. People have big mouths.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And people can't help but have big mouths,
Oh, even towards the end of my father's life, before he died, he would always tell stories about the war and all, because he was there for 20 something years. But then he started telling like some hardcore stuff that really happened, and I was like, I don't know if you're supposed to tell me any of this. Like,
yeah.
He wanted to let people know that he was at certain places, and there's crazy stuff that we've averted war, a couple times, more than we think we have.
Oh yeah, at least 3 times. I mean, World War III almost broke out at least 3 times.
Oh yeah, especially with the Russians. Like, that's real beef. That Cold War stuff was real. It's not just the crap we put in movies now.
Well, see, one time when we averted war, there was a Russian that was they had a person doing a sonar.
Oh yeah,
searching for missiles and stuff like that, and the person, he saw missiles incoming, and it ended up just a hiccup in the system,
Or that's like when Hawaii thought they were about to be bombed.
Yeah.
Do you know how much anxiety that would, like, people start putting their head between their legs. Do you know recently China, America, and Russia, they reiterated the Non-Proliferation Act, where it's known that if we all dropped nukes on each other, we would destroy the planet. And I was really surprised that for 3 countries that really hate each other right now, they kind of agreed not to nuke each other.
Well, that's probably what's saving everybody, is mutually assured destruction.
And now we have all kinds of... Oh, so go ahead, Pert.
That's what the MAD doctrine was through the 70s and 80s, mutually assured destruction.
I mean,
Nobody was going to set one off because we all knew we'd
Yeah.
destroy each other.
I
was
mean,
just
it's sad that mutually assured destruction is the only thing that's saving us, but
how American
that's
is
what
it?
it
Like
is.
that, to me, that's so American. Like if you can't have this planet, no, if we can't have this planet, no one can. That's just it's so sad.
Well, but all the major powers had the same attitude.
True.
You know,
True.
which
Yeah.
is the other thing with the conspiracy nuts. It's like the ones who deny the moon landing. So
Mm.
through all this bullshit through the Cold War, Russia and China never
Yep.
took the opportunity to embarrass the US about this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and Russia just agreed to say, okay, we'll pretend we lost this one.
Never. Are you kidding me? Their air and space museum, like Russia is the one place I probably will never go, but like their air and space museum is one of the most amazing museums. Like check it out on YouTube. It's amazing. They are dedicated to space just like America is, you know.
Well, you know, to be fair, the Soviets were the first ones to put a mammal in space. They put dogs
Yep.
in space.
Lanka was the first mammal to ever go into outer space.
Well, and the rockets and capsules they designed while we were doing Apollo continued to be the world's taxi service to get the ISS for decades.
we still deal with the Russians is into that regard because you know the ISS is property of all those countries, you know, not just
Yeah.
America, not just Russia. And in the European space Union home base, on the walls are all Russian astronauts because they're considered European astronauts, you know.
Yeah. But you know, these people, these conspiracy theorists, you know, sometimes I'm thinking, what would these conspiracy theorists say if they really knew how extensive that that place under Switzerland is? It's not technically under Switzerland, it's under a bunch of countries. You know, where the LCA is?
Are you talking
Or
about the
the
Horizon? The
Yeah, the
I
Large
can't.
Hadron Collider.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
say it properly.
Yeah, that.
Do you know when they created the Higgs boson, people legitimately thought that they were going to destroy the planet.
Oh yeah, I heard a lot of speculation that they were going to create a black hole and suck the world in.
To a point
Yeah.
where they were holding certain projects back for years because they were like starting to believe their own Kool-Aid. And here we are now. They've created the particle.
Yeah. But they do have to keep matter and antimatter separate. Because they have made antimatter. That's probably something else a young earther's never going to tell you.
Great Dan Brown book, though.
Oh, hey, Randolph.
I love Dan Brown. Sorry, I love Dan Brown. It actually was a great book. It was
Yeah,
the
I mean,
sequel.
he is great.
It was the sequel to the Da Vinci Code, Gods and Demons. Great book.
Yeah.
I had the Da Vinci Code on audiobook. That's the only one of his I've ever been through.
Yeah, but Kent thinks antimatter's like imaginary. I'm like, okay, Kent, well, you know, we've made it, so how can it be imaginary if we've made it?
Oh, is it one of those arguments like why is there air? And I can't stand those arguments. Again, that goes back to they would rather talk in circles because
Yeah.
they know that they're spouting pure BS.
Well, you know, he also thinks there's no such thing as dark matter and dark energy, and I'm like, what the fuck?
What is he gonna do when he finds out that there's nothing but dark matter and energy, and we're just a byproduct of everything of it? You know.
He'll probably deny that too. He's just a reality denier in general.
Yeah.
He'd rather hold on to his favorite fairy tale, and you ask him, how do you know the Bible's true? Well, because the Bible says it's true. Yeah,
Yep.
well, the Quran says the Quran is true. So why isn't the Quran true? Because the Bible's true. Well, yeah, but there's a verse in the Quran that says the Quran's true. So if you believe the Bible's true, then you have to believe the Quran's true too, because of your same reasoning. I mean, it doesn't work, right?
Yep.
The problem is that the world has super succeeded the Bible. The Bible was made for a world that was for a bunch of sheep herders. And, we're literally building rockets and going to the moon. So it doesn't apply anymore. So people are trying to fit their worldview. I hate that saying, but it's true into modern times,
Yeah. And, I mean, it's like, they say I think one of the commandments is, you got to stone disobedient kids or something like that. And I'm like, who would have kids then? Nobody would have any kids.
There's not enough time to stone all disobedient children. There's not, trust me. It goes back to Battlestar Galactica and one of the last episodes when Colonel Ty looks at Adam and he says, well, we still have time to airlock everybody. And he looks at him, he's like, there's not enough time.
I'm like, we wouldn't even have a species if we did that,
Especially how we treat kids with respect now to a certain extent,
Yeah.
That's my whole point, is that world doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I have a book around here that I cheat because I use a lot of the old styles from the 70s because a lot of it was cut off sleeves. So it's a book from the 70s, but a lot of the styles and a lot of even the ways of sewing and certain sewing machines, we have way better sewing machines than they ever could have thought of in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's out of date.
Well, I'm sure if you go through all the rules and regulations, the Bible can give you an excuse for killing anyone.
Yeah. Well, it's like I say, it's like I said on numerous occasions, do you think that in 2,000 years, somebody is going to find Venom comics and make a Church of Venom?
We
got Scientology. That was made by a science fiction writer.
I watched this atheist called, his name's William Jones, and he brought up this story. Have you guys ever heard of Bo Jackson? He played baseball.
But I don't really. I've heard of him, but I don't really know who he is.
Well, in the 80s, in the 90s, he played football and baseball, which was unheard of.
Okay.
He was so physically fit that he could play both sports professionally, which Deion Sanders was the only other human being to ever do it successfully. Bo Jackson was a medical miracle. He physically was better than everybody else. And the whole point of what William Jones was saying, that 100 years from now, they're going to say that Bo Jackson could jump 100 feet, or that he, and then 200 years from now, they're going to say that he could fly. And then 300 years from now, they're going to have a church of Bo Jackson, And they're not even going to know that all this came from a sport, from a man who was just more physically fit than everybody else.
Well, yeah. You can just look back at the legend of John Henry.
It's funny you would say that. In the African American culture, my father was named after John Henry. His father's name was John Henry, and our last name. Like, but there's always that argument, was John Henry real or not, you know, but there was a ton of black men who were named after him for generations and generations after that. My father included, you know, and his father.
Well, I'm sure at some point there was, a black man working on the railroad lines named John Henry, and just because he was bigger and stronger than most of the guys there, the legends evolved from there.
Okay, well let's
Exactly.
talk about this phony Beatles maniacs. Not really. I mean, we don't. There's nothing. There's nothing contemporary with him. The only person who might have been able to meet him was Paul, and Paul never says that he met him. The only other person we know of that could have met him was Josephus, and Josephus never said anything about him.
Even when I was a Christian, I took the view that Jesus was probably a composite, that there were dozens of these wandering teachers with similar messages. And just when somebody finally got around to writing it all down, they thought it made a better story to say it was all the same guy.
And because
So I put him in pretty much the same category as like King Arthur and Robin Hood.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that. I think he's more of a conglomerate than anything else.
Hey, Randolph. And also with the whole Josephus thing, and I'm quoting Ken Humphreys when I say this, but Josephus was writing about the history of what happened to the Jewish people during the occupation of the Romans. In this entitled giant book, he only wrote 2 lines about Jesus that came out to be a forgery, that were written by a monk in the 16th or 17th century.
Yeah.
Because they were constantly translating the books,
Right.
into different religions, and someone added 2 lines, and that's it. That's all they talk about Jesus. So Josephus doesn't prove that's not proof of Jesus at all. And Josephus was actually there and existed.
Yeah. And Pliny the Younger, he doesn't say anything about Jesus. He just talks about the Christians. He doesn't say, yeah, there was a dude named Jesus,
Well, it actually was not an uncommon name then. So the idea that somebody of that name was crucified in the Roman Empire, is pretty much a given.
Yeah, or that I'll even grant. Okay, I will grant there was someone named Yeshua running around in first century Judea who considered himself a Messiah figure that got crucified by the Romans. That's not. I mean, that's totally believable. All of those 3 things are believable.
Well, the Romans did crucify. How many hundreds of thousands of people did the Romans crucify, though?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a common practice. There were a lot of people with that name. So just statistically, odds are that, yes, at some point, somebody with that name got crucified.
Where I'm from, like here, that's like someone being named Jose Martinez.
Yeah.
Or John Smith or Muhammad. Do you know I know like 6 or 7 Mo's, It's just a common name.
Right. Or you go a couple hundred miles south of you and someone named Jesus.
Well,
or Jesus, actually. But...
Exactly. I was about to say, I know a ton of people named Jesus.
Yeah.
That's another thing, especially in LA. Being named Jesus is not rare at all. At all. And it's not, and in English it's Jesus.
Yeah. And in Hebrew it's Yeshua or Joshua.
I've been watching a lot of just weird stuff lately, but Is it true that there's no J in Hebrew?
That is correct.
Well,
So
there wasn't in the
sorry.
in the first century the letter didn't exist.
So they wouldn't have necessarily. So he wouldn't have been called Jesus like we say in English.
Right. He would have been Yeshua.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. This person was just basically trying to prove a point of like we speak a different language than the originals, so we need to stop acting like we are them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're like, they want to use Jehovah because they think it's the name of God. Well, no, it's not the name of God. They didn't even exist back then.
Oh, Randolph, I miss your jokes. I miss your jokes, Randolph.
Well, and that's another huge one about the Bible. Is we've got the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I guarantee you there was no one with any of those names in that region at that time.
No,
Exactly.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John sound like the people on the local polo team or something.
Yeah,
you know?
they're very European names.
Yeah. And I've said this before, the New Testament is, in my opinion, very pro-Roman. We've got Jesus saying, "Bring me a coin. Whose face do you see?" And they say, "Well, Caesar's." And Jesus says, "Render to Caesar." What Jew is going to say, "Render to Caesar"?
On the lines of that, Godless Selling says, "Do not claim that on your taxes." do not give unto the state which is theirs, or they claim as half theirs. Oh, you're right. Like no one, and that's the one thing I never understood, even as a child. It's very anti Jewish.
Yeah, I mean, Pilate was a very Pilate would have no problem putting someone to death. He was such a mean man that he was so mean that the Romans
Yep.
recalled him.
Yes.
That's something.
And he wasn't there in the season or the time they said that he was supposed to be there. Is that true? Like I heard
I'm not sure.
someone like and this is again one of the millions things that I've watched on YouTube, but someone said he was in Egypt at the time, or like was shipped off somewhere else because he was so brutal.
Yeah.
Well, he was so unpopular that the Romans were afraid that the citizens would wind up revolting.
But then you've also got the problem about Quirinius and Herod. Quirinius was not governor of Syria when Herod was king of Judea.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
That's what
work.
I'm saying. Exactly. But if you were to present this to a modern day Christian, they would just kind of shrug their shoulders and look at you and be like, "I don't believe you." Sad.
Yeah. Which, most Christians have not read the Bible.
Oh, before we run past it too much, Randolph said crucifixions were all the rage until the rulers got tired of everyone just hanging around.
Native, Hovind took what route?
Uh-oh. I don't want to go the woo-woo route.
But anyway, but yeah, I mean, how are you going to justify this thing about Quirinius and Herod when they never overlapped? And there was never and also there was never a Roman census that made people go back to their great whatever.
Well, the church held the story together for 2,000 years because most people couldn't verify history. And isn't it weird that the more that it's studied, the more problems we find with the story?
Exactly.
Oh, talking about getting rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taxes.
And
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, yeah. And and another thing is, um, they say the the um the thing between the inner and outer temple, the Holy of Holies, where the ark was, they said that rent in two, and I'm like, somebody would have noticed that, like, the high priest. Nobody
And
noticed that.
also, the town of Bethlehem did not exist at the time. It wasn't even a backwater hamlet or even a farm. And um having been there before, it's a tourist trap that the Israeli government invented for rich churches who send dumb Americans to to the Holy Land.
Yeah.
It's the giant. It's the Hollywood. It's like the religious version of Hollywood Boulevard. You get there and you're like, this is Hollywood. This is disgusting. They take you out near a river somewhere and call it Bethlehem. It's really
Yeah. And
it's all
and
man-made.
and what about the star that the wise men followed? I mean, if if there was a star, first of all, the Chinese would have known if there was a new star around that time,
So in
and we don't.
my in my Haley's Comet book, they try to tie in the three wise kings may or may not have saw Haley's Comet.
Okay.
I've heard them try that, but the timing was off. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
the idea that it could lead them to a specific town, it basically had to be an alien spaceship.
Because not aliens. I will.
But
I get
see,
so mad.
it didn't lead them to a specific town, right? It just led them to a specific area. But if the star was from God, right? Why would the wise men have to go by King Herod's palace to ask him where the king of the Jews was going to be born if God sent the star? Wouldn't because if you read the story, when the wise men went away from King Herod, the star stopped over the stable. So why didn't the star just lead them to the stable to begin with? And why did they even have to stop by King Herod's?
Well, and why couldn't King Herod have sent someone to follow the same star?
It doesn't make any sense.
Or tell them to hop in and put a seatbelt on, because if you're that close, you might as well give them a ride. That's
Well, I
ridiculous.
mean, why didn't King Herod just send some henchmen and say, "Okay, you're going to find a baby under the star, kill it"?
Right.
None of it. And see, that goes back to what I was saying about how you cannot apply this goat herder religion to modern times, because we're going to tear it apart. Like we're on a judge show, we're going to tear it apart and be like, no, this is crap. And let me tell you 100 reasons why it is. That's why like modern day, I'm surprised religion has got this far.
Well, it's our safety blanket. I mean, basically, that's what it is.
But going back to what you were saying earlier, like I was hurt by religion. And so because of that, I'm very guarded and
Well,
like
what you say about being a safety blanket, I'm pretty much convinced that that's how it started. Was that way back when, you had somebody with a couple of kids screaming in the cave because they were terrified of the thunderstorm going on. So they made up a story that, no, it's okay. There's this big guy in the sky who's controlling all the thunder and lightning, and he's going to protect us, just so they would get the kids to shut up and go to sleep. But when they died, the kids kept retelling the story, and nobody realized that the story was all bullshit to begin with.
We're going to tear up the goat herders field for horrible story writing. So true. No, I agree with you, Purple. I agree with you 100%. It's always to explain what's over the hill, what's over the mountain, because as human beings, we are scared of the unknown. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's like to begin with, God was in the cave, right? And then man went to the cave. So then God had to be on the mountaintop, right?
Yep.
So then man went to the mountain, and then God had to be in the sky, and man went into the sky. So then he had to be in outer space. Then man went to outer space, and now he's got to be this extra universal whatever,
Yep.
I mean, like, they just moved the goalpost.
That's another reason why I stopped arguing with Christians, because no matter what, they're gonna reinvent the wheel just to throw it at you. No matter what you say, they're just gonna turn something around on you. Well, what about this? Oh, well, what about this? Or um for a while people were trying to say like when Kepler 220b was found, they were saying, "Oh, but God knew it was there," or always some complete BS, Like, no, we set
Mhm.
the telescope and we found it.
Well, isn't it the Mormons who believe God is on planet Kobol?
Kolob.
Don't
Kolob,
they
yeah.
don't they also believe that you get your own planet when you die, but if you're a woman, you're in limbo until your husband dies?
Yes. Yeah,
What
that
happens if,
each of the righteous men will get their own planet and get to be God over their own planet.
but what happens if you never get married?
If you're a woman and you die before you're married, you're just screwed.
You floating in space? That's
Yeah.
a sucky religion. No one.
Well,
That's
and and
No,
this
I
is
mean,
all
no,
these.
you can't. If you're a woman who doesn't get married, you can go to the celestial kingdom. Like there's 3 levels of the celestial kingdom, so
Mhm.
you can like get to the second level, but you can't get to like the first level.
I think that's where the confusion comes from, because I always talk about it on Perb's show. I grew up with a lot of Mormons,
Uh huh.
and like we rarely talked about religion. we, were- it was something that no one ever brought up. I went to CCD classes until I was 18, so I was just as indoctrinated as a Mormon would have been, or any
Hmm.
kid from any other religion. So we just respectfully didn't bring up religion. But we were all kind of sinners too, though. Now that I think about it, like we were bad kids. But we were just rebelling against our religions.
Right. Right.
And that stereotype about Catholic children is true. They are some of the worst of the worst.
Don't forget the preacher's kids.
So I have a really good friend whose father is still a preacher at the biggest church in my town. Has a multi-million-dollar facility. My friend grew up to be this like pillar of the community. His sister is a real life what they call old lady in a biker gang. So it's like 50-50 with the preacher's kids. But she grew up to be a real life biker.
Oh wow.
Like a real one, like the kind that you would like look the other way if you saw her coming with her people. So it's
Yeah.
one of those funny things.
Well, my oldest brother and I are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
Same.
I didn't quite realize how far off he was until on his gift wish list he had included Ray Comfort DVDs.
Oh my gosh.
I call him Ray Comfort.
I'm stealing
He'll
that one.
always be Banana Man.
I think I've said this story a million times, but I think he's psychotic because he gets on his bicycle and goes to some of the roughest neighborhoods in LA, but they're like no one messes with him because they all probably think he's on drugs because he goes with his dog, and he's this just old white guy that goes to some of the scariest neighborhoods in Los Angeles.
They just feel sorry for the dog.
I watched a few videos and I'm like, Ray Comfort is in the hood. I wouldn't even go to half those neighborhoods that he goes to. Like, not even if you paid me. They shoot charity workers in certain neighborhoods over there, and Ray Comfort just goes through and no one messes with him. They must think he's off his rocker.
Yeah, I like the dog. Just, take the sunglasses off the dog, dude. The dog don't need the sunglasses.
Do you know, like, I started watching his content because I was like, he lives somewhere in LA, and like most major cities, it's segregated socioeconomically. But if you live by the beach, you could be in Compton, Carson, or Watts in about 10-15 minutes on a bicycle if you just started heading east in towards the city. So if you live in the really nice area on the beach, you basically live in the front, it's just really funny how things are zoned. So I kind of have a real idea of where he lives. Like, he lives somewhere really nice that's right next to the hood.
Well, Minneapolis is really weird that way because, of course, everybody wants a home on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota literally is the home of 10,000 lakes. So you've got a lot of these small lakes that you've got these, just mansions that are facing the lake.
Yep.
And if you go 2 blocks behind them, you're in a slum.
Same with LA. You can go from some of the multi-billion-dollar beach houses to being in one of the scariest neighborhoods in America. It's just funny that way. That's why I started watching Ray Comfort, because I'm like, you're crazy, dude. You're crazy. But that's his shtick. The people in the neighborhood love him. He's still around. And LA right now is returning to its violent past. It's some of the most violent times in LA, and he's still going around on his bike.
Well, the whole country's gotten a lot more violent over the last, 5 to 10 years.
It's gotten really, like, I jokingly told my friend last night, I told her LA's turned into Gotham City, like, for real. But we don't have Batman. It's bad, but I don't go in the city too often, so.
I want to know why every time Batman goes out, there isn't somebody sticking a tracking device on the Batmobile.
Man,
they got to do that all the time, and they got to find out where he parks that thing.
Especially like in the drone era, you can't hide. Like, even if you had all the money and a secret cave, they would find out where the entrance to your cave was eventually. And a long time ago, I used to go to this place called the Farmers Market in LA, and it's across from CBS Studios. It has a giant parking lot because it has a bunch of fancy restaurants, but it's the only place where you can get like real roots and yams and stuff like that. So I go there, and on the 3rd or 4th level, there's a man with a camera. I have never seen a human being with such a large camera lens. My whole point is, like, where I live in LA, you cannot escape from the paparazzi. So if someone like Batman existed, he would be stalked at all times. At all times. Elon Musk wants to go to Mars to see if there's really a face on it or not.
Is that still persisting?
No, we've at least because I read Scientific American, we've sent probes there and we have clear pictures of Mars. It's just a mountain the size of America.
Yeah, Elon Musk probably wants to claim his residency on Mars so that then he's not subject to U.S. taxes.
Yeah. I bet he cried the first time he saw, like, what's the tax on a billion? $1.5 billion? America does not mess around. Because that joke about 1 million is real. Like, what's the tax on $1 million? $1 million.
I thought the top tax bracket was only 90%.
No, I know. But like, when you make a certain amount of money, you're like, oh, I made this and that. And then the
Yeah.
government's like, I'm going to come and take 42% of it.
Let me just say, Randolph, I don't know how to mod you while I'm live streaming, so that's why I'm going to do it later.
Oh, okay. If you've got the YouTube chat open, in the YouTube chat, you could click on the 3 dots by his name, and it would give you the option to add a moderator.
And keep an eye out. Kevin Chaos was porn bombed recently and got his channel taken down.
Yeah, well, that's why it came up, because we had a spam bot just in here.
They're working overtime.
It says put user in timeout or block user. It doesn't say anything about modding.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
They've changed YouTube.
Okay, that's how I'd always done it before.
They changed a lot of their policies, and I keep on trying to get around to read their on January 4th, they changed a lot of their policies, and today's the 5th.
Yeah.
I still haven't got around because I don't want to get my channel taken down, and I've stopped posting a lot of copyrighted material because that was like my shtick. That was my shtick. So they're really cracking down.
Yeah, I had a copyright claim on my channel, and I'm like, what? Like, the thing that I had a copyright claim on didn't even have any music. I'm like, what the fuck?
I recently started getting reported, and then I found out who it was. It was somebody who hates me. But it's actually someone that I actually know in meat space.
I had a couple of my streams that got knocked because somebody had shared an image, and YouTube decided it was a copyright image.
You know what? She'll never know because I was on Lisa's channel, but it was my homophobic sister. She was offended that I have a YouTube channel, and to quote, I flaunt my gayness. She even called my mom to whine about it. And my mom was like, you know, you're almost 50. Oh yeah. She's mad because I made a YouTube channel and I'm unapologetically myself.
Yeah.
And so, but my sister, over the years has become a like Black Baptist, like, she's joined a Baptist church. So she's lost to the Lord. She's, you know, it's a cult. It's like, to me, you know, I know we throw around words like mental illness and cult and it starts fights, but certain sects are cults because it's all based on it's not based on the message, it's based on maintaining an image for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because at least in the Catholic religion, they're like, hey, take it or leave it. We have artwork. We don't need you.
Yeah.
You know, but in evangelical circles, they need you. They need the physical person, you know. So my sister, she hates me. And she's gone like flagging my channel and stuff. But I contacted YouTube and they're like, oh, it happens all the time. You know, and I don't spew hatred on my channel or anything, so it's nothing to flag me for.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they get that, you know, with all sorts of trolls just hunting on people's channels and, you know, not just the one account, but then they make all sorts of sock puppets to report people.
Exactly. Like I'm making credit tutorials and showing people how to upcycle. Like I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not hurting anyone, you know.
Yeah. When I was a Christian, I used to get all uppity about the um homosexuals. No offense, Godless. I'm not like this anymore.
Oh no, go ahead. No, it's okay. That's
But
okay.
but now I'm like, what the fuck do you care what other people do with another consenting adult?
But
Yep.
that's my stance in life where I leave people alone. If you're not harming animals or kids, man, it's none of my business. And like I don't understand why people mess with other people. In any way. Like if it's not a harmful thing, I'm not gonna sit there. I judge people. I'll say
Mhm.
something crazy, but I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna hurt them because their choices are different than mine.
Right.
I barely have the energy to socialize with the people I like. I don't have the energy to waste my time on people I don't like.
But also, it's easy to other your enemies and not realize that they're normal just like you. And that's part of the problem is that when you categorize someone, it's easy to shove them in a corner and be like, oh, they're different and
Yeah.
evil. Man, we all pay taxes. I have a kid. He goes to school. Like it's normal people stuff around here all day long, you know? So, it's just, and I think that's part of the problem is that we don't realize that, like, there's no difference between the street preacher and the gay guy at the club. They both got to pay taxes. They both got to go to work, you know,
Yep.
except
Yeah.
for there were people in West Hollywood, though, that would come with these, I'm not kidding you, these 15-foot signs. There'd be 3 or 4 guys holding it, or they had this like puppet scary Jesus with these arms. They'd have like 4 or 5 guys controlling it. That thing was nightmare fuel. Absolute nightmare fuel.
I know the type of things you mean. I've seen them.
Oh, and they would, because in West Hollywood there's 3 giant rainbow flags, so you know what side of town you're on. And these guys, legally, they got so bad the cops told them you can't go into West Hollywood. So they would stand at the flagpole with these signs because the flagpole was the beginning of West Hollywood.
Yeah, I've seen like the 4 guys controlling a 30-foot Jesus.
Oh, it's awful. They do it after the Rose Parade every year too. I'm like, why, guys? You're not going to scare people into your religion with that creepy sign, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing, you better come to Jesus or you're going to go to hell. We don't believe in hell either.
Yeah. Threatening to beat me up will just have me laugh at you. Like my imaginary friend is gonna beat you up. Like, go ahead. Go ahead. That's
Yeah,
the
and they okay. So they say God is loving, right? Well, what kind of a loving God is going to send you to hell just because you don't want to kiss his ass?
the most abusive relationship ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely the most.
Yeah, if you have any experience with abusive relationships, God of the Bible is a textbook case.
Exactly. Do what I say, or I'm gonna beat you for eternity. That is like the
Yep.
definition of an abusive relationship.
And after he punishes you, he shouts, "Look what you made me do."
And I'm gonna send you to my friend who's gonna burn you for the rest of time. Worst deal ever.
But God didn't send you to hell. You chose to go to hell.
Oh, sorry.
This is the mental gymnastics they have to go through.
The Muslim religion is even worse because there is a million rules in the Quran. It's a rule book. It is a rule book. So you go to hell for all kinds of funny stuff, for wearing lilac, for mixing salt and water on dry land or something. There's all kinds of stuff.
Oh, do you go to hell for having sex with Jen in your bathroom just because you set foot in it with the wrong foot?
Oh, and that's another thing. Like in the Muslim religion, they're really scared of jinns and demons and being possessed and all kinds of crazy stuff. Fun times, fun times. It's all about control, and it's all about like, do what I say now, and I'll do you a favor in heaven later. It's just
Yeah,
same old
exactly.
rack. It's it's like racketeering, you know.
Yeah. It's
Along,
like, it's like what Logic said, It's like, uh you get you get robbed, right? And somebody's standing there with a gun, "Give me your money or I'll shoot you." Do you say, "Thank you for being so kind that you're giving me a choice"? No.
Yeah.
What kind of an idiot does that?
it's extortion, religious extortion. Would you call that divine extortion?
Yeah.
Dude, it's the divine mafia. Do me a
Yeah.
favor.
It's the classic racketeering thing of, you pay me $100 a week and your windows don't get broken.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the seraphim and the cherubim are the captains,
Randolph, I want to know how that goes. I rarely talk about it because it was kind of inconsequential, but when I was younger, I almost became a 5%er Muslim, which is the Malcolm X religion, the American version of the Muslim religion. I was not ready for all those rules. There's a lot of rules in that. In being raised Catholic, I wasn't ready to give up one master for another. It was the same thing, just with more rules. So I know a lot about the Muslim religion and El Mahdi and all that stuff.
Another
Oh,
thing that kills me is they say we don't wanna abide by rules. What are you talking about? We abide by rules all the time.
absolutely, absolutely. I can't walk down the street doing whatever I want to do.
Hey, Randolph.
Hey,
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
how's your
Randolph.
So I'm actually really interested. How did your debate go with the Muslim
Oh,
gentleman or woman?
yeah, that was his name is Nadir Ahmed, and he's quite cordial to speak with. It didn't turn into a yelling match. I think it went quite well. A lot of people in the audience went kind of crazy because they're just they don't believe him, right? So they're saying, oh, yeah, the usual thing, right? But he did say some strange things in the debate. One of them was that modern freedom, is not as good as Islamic slavery.
Yeah, they
That was
do
near
believe. They do believe
He
in that.
said that. I couldn't believe it. He said that.
And also they'll say like, "Oh, we treat women better than everybody else," but they have thousands of rules. That if you're a woman, of how to act, where to speak,
Yeah.
where to sit, how many witnesses you need if there's a crime that happens. It's ridiculous.
Well, he claimed that wasn't true Islam. So
oh, sorry. You already know. See, I'm not even gonna yell at you because you already know. Like, that's law, buddy.
yeah,
Like,
it was.
Oh wow.
It was a good experience, and like basically the topic of the debate was what's better for humankind, atheism or Islam. And so I was arguing that because the only intrinsic characteristic of atheism that matters in this is freedom, whereas Islam is all about submission. It's better for people in society to be free, right? And yeah, but he thinks that he argued for slavery, and saying stuff like a person gets rewarded if they enslave a woman, and they get rewarded again if they educate them and free them later.
Yeah, and it still goes on to this very day. I watch a lot of African television, and they warn they warn people from Nigeria, because Nigerians go all around the world and do work, and they warn people from Nigeria, women specifically, do not go to Saudi Arabia because they become indentured slaves.
Oh, yeah. They've got.
They take their passport and then it's over after that. You know,
Kafala, I think they call it. I'm probably saying it wrong, but
I can't pronounce it either.
Yeah, I'm glad he corrected me in there. I thanked him right when he corrected the way I said it, because that way the correct pronunciation came through and all that. So, it was. I got good feedback on the opening statement. That was that I made. A couple of people said it was epic, which I think, holy cow, that's a nice compliment. And a couple of people also told me it reminds them of the way Christopher Hitchens talks about stuff. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not that good. I only put 15 minutes into writing it up. You know, it's like, there's no way. But I did get into all that. So it was, but I think my opening statement was better than how I did in the debate. But the debate is not predictable, right? So that's how it goes. And then there's what I learned from that is I could have been better prepared, but I think I did all right anyway. And because I was trying to argue that this is, he was saying that Muslim societies are the happiest around the world, and he said a lot of interesting things. I'll get the link and put it in the private chat, and then
I'm gonna send him my
I've
glasses.
got a feeling the Scandinavians would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I did look online really quick, and it shows the top 7 countries that are, or top 5 or something, that are happiest, and none of them
I bet
are.
Norway's up there somewhere.
It was in there. Yes, it was. It was in the top 5 or whatever. Yeah. And
well, that's what I mean. The Scandinavian countries are usually up in the top 5.
Yeah.
Not even like, what's it called? Bahrain or not Abu Dhabi.
I listed them all off. I forgot what they were, but I listed them all off in the debate, and it was a fun experience, and I'd do it again. It's even with him, I'd be happy to do it again. It's just because he was a nice guy to chat with, and before and after the debate, we just have a nice little chat in there. Although I think he left at the end, so it was more before. So yeah, there's the link to the debate from the chat.
I think that's awesome that that he can come out like that and share his views, even for as whacked out as they are, you know.
Well, I read the comments afterwards. Like, I was a little bit concerned, though, thinking, wow, I'm going to get a lot of backlash from some angry Muslims, because there is a certain small percentage of Muslims who are quite extreme. Mm-hmm. And I emphasize it's just a very small percentage. The majority seem to be just normal people, like with any other demographic, you know. And I did point this out in the debate as well. But he and I didn't use any mockery of any of the stuff. I was very serious all the way through, and I think that helped. But what surprised me is that there were Muslims who are upset with him instead of being upset with me. And I was expecting, to be upset with me.
Were they like mad at him for not slam dunking on you, or
all sorts of stuff? Some of them just saying he doesn't represent Islam properly, and things like that. And
that's the problem.
But again, these are people, I think, that are more on the extreme end of the spectrum rather than just the average people, right? So, because average people don't talk or write like that, in my experience.
Well,
Christians do the same thing.
Those Muslims sound like the Christians that say, "Oh no, those aren't Christians over there."
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a bunch of that too. Yeah. So I remember, but there was only one Muslim got angry at me on Twitter and posted once, and then they disappeared. So this is something to the effect of, "Why am I bothering Muslims?" I'm like, hey, James from Modern Day Debate invited me to participate in this, and of course I said yes right away. It wasn't that I was out looking for it, but as soon as the opportunity comes up, I'll take it, right? So
there were certain subjects that I used to be extremely sensitive about, but just because of my sensitivity doesn't mean they still don't need to be discussed. You know?
Sure.
There's even if I feel that the sources are not even coming from the side of either argument, it still needs to be discussed. there's nothing wrong with talking about a religion. I think we fall into certain traps with certain religions because they're so guarded that it starts fights just when you bring up a certain religion. You know, it happens a lot with anything that's to do with Judaism or like the whole Israeli Palestinian thing. Like that starts fights. Like where I live, if it gets brought up in a Starbucks, the cops are going to get called because people are about to get in a fist fight, you know?
Oh, wow.
So
That's
it's
a
one of those.
contentious place to live.
I've seen it.
Community to live in.
I've seen it in real life, and it was two Caucasian guys who were about to go to jail.
Wow.
Over it, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you were at one time were going to get into it, or you actually were Muslim for a while?
Well, the whole conscience craze of the early 90s, black people were returning back to that whole 1970 things of like the Marcus Garvey, like, oh, we're gonna go back to Africa, or they started adopting Afrocentric behavior and wearing dashikis again. And the whole Malcolm X craze came. I'm not even, you're going to laugh at me, but it was after the movie came out with Denzel Washington. All of a sudden, everybody wanted to be a Muslim all of a sudden when the movie came out. And the religion got a really huge surge of 5% Muslim. But that religion is different than the Muslim religion because I'm about to give away their secret. They believe in Farad Muhammad, who was their Jesus, who passed down to Elijah Muhammad, who was the man who taught Malcolm X. And so I consider that religion almost atheist because their God has come and gone. So to them, they'll tell you like they don't believe in the anthropomorphic dude in the sky throwing lightning bolts. Like they're more spiritual, whatever that, to me that's a worthless word, but like
it's vague, but it does say, I think
they don't
saying spiritual does say that they're into some of the mysticism aspect of things. Yeah.
But if you ask them what's Allah, they'll say arm, leg, arm, head. They'll say it's you. So it's much more of a
I've had that from some, but a lot of them just say he's the God of all of creation and all this kind of stuff is what I usually hear.
I'm gonna tell you the honest truth. Like, I was raised Catholic. I was total wannabe Muslim. I went through a Buddhist phase. It's all about control. Whether it's about sitting in a temple meditating for 6 hours, or this guy's gonna say sit over here, and it's the military without a paycheck. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. It just was never for me.
The military without a paycheck is a really good description. That's a good metaphor. Yeah.
And I'm, and I, like I said, I'm not as angry as an atheist as I used to be. I try not to dog religion. It's just, if someone is telling you what to do, I don't know. It's a bad investment. I used to always say this about when I was a kid. I never understood why we gave the church money so that they would remember us in heaven. That's such BS. Even like my 7-year-old self debunked that, Like, why are we giving these fools money?
So, like, I wondered, I wonder, why does God need money?
Yes.
I mean, he says all the gold in the mountain is mine, so why the fuck does he need money?
God is Wimpy from Popeyes. Do me a solid today. Do me a solid, give me a hamburger today and I'll gladly pay you on Tuesday,
I remember a cartoon I saw of a newspaper kind of cartoon where they had this guy is on his deathbed and he's got his bag with all his stuff, and the priest is there saying, "Give that to me, my son. You won't be needing that. You won't be able to take it with you, or you're going, etc." And so he gives it to the guy. It's going to be used for the church, apparently. And then the next scene is this guy. He died, and he's up in the pearly gates. And the St. Peter's asking him, "Where's all your stuff?"
Great. That's great. Oh, God.
That's the Catholic Church in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's only one of the nutshells. The other nutshell is child abuse and all that, and we'll just leave that out of here for
I was
now.
about to say on the funny side, like
Two
the
nutshells.
the church. I always talk about the church I grew up in. It's a, it's just a local rinky-dink church. They have priceless artifacts in this church because
Oh, yeah.
they got it from Rome. It's crazy how much money the Roman Catholic Church has.
Oh, they're probably among the most successful businesses in the whole world. And I call them a business because that's how they seem to be operating.
Yep.
They get involved in politics. They're not there for society. They're a business.
Right.
I say take away their 501c3 status and watch how many of these buildings would close. A lot would stay open,
There is pressure here in Canada to remove tax exempt status, but it's not enough pressure right now. But it is gradually increasing over time. And what really increased big time on this was when two things happened. One, the first time around was when the child molestation epidemic came up. And then the other one was the burials, the unmarked grave situation. So both of those, there was a notable increase in people wanting to see a removal of tax exempt status from religious institutions, all of them, not just the Catholic Church, but Catholic Church specifically the most, but the others as well. Nobody trusts any of them anymore. And a lot of people still are into it. That's the problem.
I'm hoping here in America, like they just got, like here in California, you're not allowed to claim religious exemption for not wearing a mask or taking the vaccine.
Okay.
So my whole thing is, let's
not
take that.
Okay, but I mean, I understand.
Let's take that. Okay. So in this instance, we do not believe that because these people believe in their sky daddy that they're better than us. Okay. So let's take one step back. Okay. So if we're all equal, then why are they not paying taxes? And I'm saying this as somebody who is part of a business group who owns a business, so I pay a lot of taxes, so I get bitchy. But like, churches should be paying their fair share.
Well,
that's all I'm saying. They expect landowners to do it, so churches who own the land that they're on, at least in this town, should be paying taxes.
If they're tax exempt, supposedly because they're doing all this charity work, let's see the books like we do for other charities. Let's see the receipts. Show us how much money you took in and what percentage of that actually was spent, helping the poor or doing some kind of charity work.
Hey, Sammy.
But see, the Catholic Church isn't the only one that's in major trouble over child abuse. The JWs are
other problems. Oh yeah.
In major trouble over child abuse. In fact, the Australian Royal Commission set up a redress scheme, and it wasn't just for religious institutions with the child abuse problem, but other institutions that had the child abuse problem. And the JWs weren't signing up, and Australia got fed up, and they said, look, you either sign up for the redress scheme or we're taking away your tax exempt status. Boy, you should have seen how fast they were to sign up to the redress scheme when Australia said that.
That's what I'm saying.
Remember, how they like to go door to door knocking quite a lot. And sometimes they send stuff in the mail. They're yesterday morning, the first time it's ever happened to me, I got a door knocking call, but it was on the phone from the Mormons.
Yeah, they started doing that because of COVID.
That's what they told me too, and I told them, I commended them for that. I said that's good, and but they still want me to come to join them at their congregation. So I'm thinking, okay, but maybe you're only helping a little bit here, but you're still going to get people infected if you do large gatherings. Come on. And but I didn't say that to them, and they're saying, yeah, do you know who a JW is? Are you familiar with it? And I said, oh yeah. And so he kept asking me these kind of questions. I finally said, do you know who I am? And I told him about how I run the Canadian Atheist Organization. He's like, oh wow. He's like,
yeah, exactly.
Who have I called? What is the chance of that kind of thing, right? So
I will say, like, locally, well, because Mormons are deep here, but the our local Mormons, they're less flinchy when you say you're an atheist. I
yeah.
said I said I was an atheist to the JWs, and they haven't been to my house in a year and a half. I should have said that 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
godless. How many times have you run into Scientologists down there?
A lot, actually. They have massive numbers here. And if you cross over anywhere into a tourist area in Hollywood, they're waiting for you, and downtown LA. They own more land than McDonald's or Disneyland. And I really
Oh
want you
yeah.
to think about that. like
Oh,
Oh, they have
Uh,
more money too.
yes.
They have more money.
They own
A lot.
there's a joke. If you stand on L. Ron Hubbard Boulevard, it's on Sunset. Okay. So if you stand on Sunset, whichever side of the street, their big blue building, the one, you always see in the thumbnails, whatever side of the street that's on, they own that entire side of town. So if you go across Sunset, it's owned by Disney. And on the other side, it's literally the Church of Scientology. They own Hollywood Boulevard. They own Sunset Boulevard. You pay your rent to the Church of Scientology if you own a building over there.
We get more. Mostly, it's Christians who proselytize, knocking on the door. Christians and Mormons, and they occasionally we get Muslims, but that's kind of rare. And then we don't really get anybody else. So
Okay,
you-
folks,
you see the
I'm
same?
gonna have to go back to bed here. So
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna tuck
thanks
that
for
up.
the chat.
thanks for
I'll catch y'all
listening in,
later.
Kurt.
It was great talking with you, Purple. Have a good sleep.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Perp. I am gonna take off in a minute too. But yeah, we get a lot of because LA is a diverse area. So there's a ton, pick a religion. I will say though, I've never had a Muslim come by my house. And
Yeah.
here in Southern California, most Muslim people are really successful. So they're not gonna bother coming by my house. Like, we have a very
Because they are or they aren't successful.
they are.
Okay.
So we have a very established.
They've got other things going on. They're not. Yeah, they're not at this level. I hear from quite a few people saying, "Oh, Muslims never proselytize. They never go door to door." And I'm thinking, what? They come to my door a couple times now.
It's not rare in the UK at all. In the UK, they go door to door all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Here in Canada, I the first time it happened, okay, I guess there's more of them now, and they're wanting to expand their mosque. And yeah,
I'll tell you, here, Christianity has a grip on Los Angeles, and it's more Catholicism because of Korean people and Hispanic people love Jesus. And a lot are very hardcore Catholics.
Well, see, in Oregon, at least here in the Willamette Valley, where I am, religion doesn't seem to be that big. I mean, I guess it would be a big thing if you were like in a European country, but for America, it's not that big,
So, Lisa, I lived in Tigard on Highway 99 in McDonald. I lived in Beaverton, and I lived in Sandy as well.
Oh, I live in
Portland.
Eugene.
Oh, okay. I lived in like all the surrounding areas of Portland, because when I moved to Portland, it was like a mini LA, and I just came from LA, and I'm like, I don't want to live in the city anymore. So I lived on the outskirts of Portland.
So, but yeah, I live in Eugene, and so it's like, I'm sure, like, if I went over to Europe, it'd be like, where the fuck is everybody with religion, but for America, it's not that religious.
people are like I said, I live in a Mormon neighborhood, and they're walking around with beers in their hands like it's Vegas. So I think a lot of the time people, they'll say I'm Mormon or I'm Jewish or I'm Catholic because their parents were,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
and
a
they're just
cultural thing,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, especially around here. Because
Yeah.
someone will say their religion, and I know more about their religion than they do. You know,
Well, I mean, to be fair, when somebody tells me they're a Christian, I'm like, yeah, sure. I know more about the Bible than you do. And I'm not trying to diss them or anything, but that's the goddamn truth. I usually do know more about the Bible than they do.
when I first came in this community, I was so shocked on how the average atheist knows more about the Bible than the average Christian. I actually heard an apologetics person say that one time as an argument, where he's like, "Do you know that atheists know more about the Bible than you do?" And like he was screaming at the screen because it was true, and he was mad about it.
Yeah. Well, you know why? But that's why we're atheists, you idiot. Because we do know more about the Bible. That's why we're atheists.
I still love watching apologetics squirm. It's just it's a hobby of mine of watching them their brains just explode, you know.
You know, when I first heard the term apologist, I was like, why do people have to apologize for God?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that term seems strange to me too.
I'm gonna have to take off because I promised my favorite vampire I would make his vegetarian burgers for him. But I watched this guy named William Jones. He's just, you know, he's an atheist like everybody else, but he used to work at a lot of the mega churches in the South. And so
Oh.
he has a different view because he's like, no, these guys are BS.
Yeah, of course he knows.
Yeah, because he worked for them, and he's like, no, it's a racket, you know.
Yeah.
But he always says, anytime you hear the word apologetics, that's just a fancy word for lying.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, and you know, I know people go to college for this nowadays. There's whole fields for it now, but if you have to make excuses for something, you're lying. If you have to put fluff on it, you're lying, you know.
Yeah. And why do you have to lie for your religion?
Absolutely.
If your religion is the truth, then it should stand or fall on its own.
Yeah, the merits of the concept or the fact or the idea or whatever is being presented, the argument should be sufficient. Shouldn't need a salesperson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's been my problem since day one. And like I said earlier, it wasn't until I got online did I realize how hardcore these people are. You know, because I've driven past their University of Phoenix or all these fake schools, Grand Canyon University, you know, but these guys are serious. Like, and they'll show up with their trailer degree and say, "Oh, look at all these things I learned," you know. Apologetics they're scary people.
Yeah. When I first started my channel, way back when I first started my channel, I extended an invitation to Matt Powell to come on and you know, have a discussion. And I've since rescinded that because I don't want a homophobe on my channel.
The problem is that he goes from a nice conversation to calling for the death of his fellow human beings that he supposedly loves. So he goes from one extreme to the other in just record time.
Yeah. And I mean, he flies off the handle at the drop of a hat. Like, I don't know if you know, if you heard it or not, but one of his parishioners, when he was in, I think it was Michigan, he's now in Florida, I think, with Kent. But when he was in Michigan, he bitched at one of his parishioners, and the parishioner was like, "No, stop," and Matt was just going off on him.
I saw a video of Steven Anderson doing that, and it was the cringiest video I have ever. I couldn't make it all the way through. It might have been a Godless Granny video back in the day, but Steven Anderson dresses people down too. It's awful. It's just awful.
I tried to offer to do a debate with them on something like video games, because they take the position that video games are bad and evil and all this stuff and a detriment to society. And there's
And
studies
that's
actually
supposed
show
to
the
be a
opposite.
loving religion.
Yeah.
Well, Matt Powell was groomed. And so he's just reciting the crap that was drummed into
Yeah.
his head because he
I
was
know.
groomed from a child.
They never got back to me, though.
The person in that circle, I guess you could say, that I really have the most sympathy for, and you're probably gonna laugh at this, would be Eric Hovind, because can't beat that kid to a pulp.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a victim.
Yeah.
Mind you, he did get revenge on his dad when his dad was in prison by taking control. So, he and his dad don't get along, as far as I can tell. They seem to be completely distanced from each other now, and it's probably over all of that. And because, when Kent Hovind, my understanding is when Kent Hovind went to prison for the tax evasion stuff, the agreement he had with his son is that his son would look after the business until the operations until he got out, and then they'd come back and they'd continue where they left off, kind of thing. So, but then of course when he comes back, his name's been completely erased from all of that stuff, and he's out of the picture, and so of course they're not getting along, because I'm sure Kent feels betrayed, and rightly so. He should feel betrayed for that, because but then there's other issues, right? So there's other extenuating circumstances that make it complicated. Not so clear, however.
But
Matt
seriously,
Powell,
I don't feel a bit sorry for Kent. I mean,
I'm not saying I feel sorry for him,
yeah,
but I mean, I'm just trying to understand his perspective.
Sorry.
You want to hear this? Okay. Kent Hovind now has Matt Powell on his show, and I feel like Matt Powell is the replacement for Eric Hovind.
That's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
That's really sad. You know what, though? Business will make you hate someone. My brother was like my best friend. He damn near raised me, and we hate each other over $10,000.
That's too bad.
Yeah, money, business and family never mix, regardless of religion or not. It'll make people hate each other,
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take off and cook this guy.
Happy New Year.
Lisa, thank you for letting me on your channel, and Randolph, it was great seeing you. And
yeah, it's a delight.
I'll see everyone in the chat later. See you guys later.
Nice shirt, by the way. Your friend in the background. All right.
Bye-bye. See you later. Bye.
Bye. So, Randolph, have you seen my John Pendleton rebuttals?
No, I'm not familiar with that name. John Pendleton?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
He doesn't do anything anymore.
Okay.
He's a young earther.
Okay. Young Earth creationist.
Yeah. But I've been trying my hand at rebuttals, and I decided to start with John Pendleton because he's
okay.
Easy to deal with,
Oh, okay. So yeah, just start off with somebody who's easy. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Good way to go. Yeah, start with the easy stuff first and work your way up. If that works well for you, then do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that sounds like a good approach.
Yeah,
So
but
he's, I guess he's presenting Christian apologetics kind of arguments.
yeah.
Yeah. What is one of the highlights for you that you've been doing the rebuttals for?
Right now he's doing the flood, and
Okay.
what kind of a loving God is gonna? Well, first of all, the flood never happened, nor could it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
impossible.
yeah. Science has made that pretty clear. There's a lot of reasons why. Yeah.
But
And China apparently forgot to get flooded during the big world flood, because their history goes back more than 6,000 years without a world flood in it. There are floods in local regions, but they're not worldwide.
It's funny that the Egyptians and the Chinese never even noticed the worldwide floods.
Yeah, they somehow they forgot to attend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should all be the same race if everything came from Noah just less than 6,000 years ago. Or how long ago was the flood?
I think 4,400 years ago.
Yeah, so come on, we should all be the same race if that's the case, right? So it's just there's just way too many problems with it.
I think AIG says that God magicked it so that Shem, Ham, and Japheth were of different colors. I don't know how the hell they came up with that one.
So Answers in Genesis took the cop-out route instead of trying to think up an actual argument. Wow, gee.
Imagine that.
Yep. I'm remembering a Dark Matter 2525 episode where Jeffrey's asking God about how do you explain this, and God keeps saying magic. John Pendleton.
Yeah, I like Dark Matter 2525.
Yeah, he's really clever, and he's very insightful too.
Yeah.
He cuts at it the right way. Cuts at all of it. Yeah.
And isn't he the one that has like Aaron Ra voice? Kent Hovind and Apologia voice Ken Ham. Is that Dark Matter, or is that another one?
I know others have done that. I don't know if Dark Matter's done that or not. It wouldn't surprise me if he has. And you know who can imitate Ray Comfort's voice perfectly is Neil the 604 Atheist. Yeah. They did a game show thing where they came on and were asked all these questions, and so Neil did Ray's voice. And like when I'm listening to this at first, I thought, oh, how did they get Ray Comfort on here? And a lot of people were thinking that. Yeah, it's like we thought it was the real guy. It was amazing. So yeah, Neil did that. Neil did that perfectly. That was wow.
That was amazing.
Neil can also do the Transformers. Is my favorite imitation he does of Optimus Prime from the Transformers in the 1980s. He's got that voice nailed as well.
I don't.
Autobots.
I never really watched the Transformers.
It was a cartoon. It was in the 80s. It was popular with the kids, but mostly the boys liked it. It was they're trucks, the robots that turn into trucks or cars, and
yeah. I was more He-Man, She-Ra, Smurfs.
Yeah, I enjoyed those as well. The especially the He-Man series and She-Ra series. Although at that time, if a boy admitted to liking She-Ra, the other boys would laugh at him. So usually we only admitted to watching He-Man, even though we watched both. That's just how it goes, right? So if the girls watched both, nobody cared. But the boys, he had to keep up some kind of image. It was just bizarre stuff of the culture, right? So things have changed now. It matters a lot less. Sorry?
She-Ra was as badass as He-Man was.
Yeah, and they taught ethics and philosophy and things like that, and they did it very well. And
Yeah.
it was a good show. Both of the shows were really good. Yeah, and they're still quite good today. I think it's just people want something that looks newer. That's all, which is a
Yeah.
shame because like the original Scooby Doo series was really really good, and
I love Scooby Doo. I
I
still love
don't
Scooby Doo.
I don't like the new series, what they've done with the movies on Scooby Doo, because the characters are all irritated with each other and seem to hate each other, and they're not getting along. And it's just, this is not it at all. And Scrappy Doo turned into a bad guy. And it's like, what the heck is, like,
Yeah, I mean, I
people,
didn't like what they did with
that's
Scrappy.
vandalism. That's vandalism.
Yeah, I didn't like what they did with Scrappy, but
That's
you
my
know,
review of the new Scooby Doo series. It's vandalism.
the have you watched Scooby Doo Mystery Inc?
I don't know. Is that some kind of new series, or
Yeah,
I don't watch
it
a lot
is.
of TV. Okay, yeah, then I've missed it.
Well, it's done now. It followed them. There's a hang on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's contagious. I just yawned. Sorry.
It's okay.
It
But
transfers over
anyway,
StreamYard, apparently.
but yeah, I started a live stream just because I wanted to bitch it at somebody who was bitching on my channel about, you know, they said I was spewing hatred, and I'm like, am I spewing hatred? And people were like, no, you're not spewing hatred.
I've never known you to do that.
And so, you know,
Can't remember you ever
I
doing
think
anything like that.
I think this person is just confusing truth with hatred, which if they're a Christian, they would, you know.
Okay. Because they have trouble
Were you
separating.
ever a Christian?
Sorry? Huh?
Were you ever a Christian?
Oh, I've always been an atheist. No, I've never been
Okay.
a Christian.
Well, Christians have this thing. I mean, if you're telling the truth, if you're telling the doggone truth about religion, you know, they have this thing about they think it's hate, which I mean,
If it's the truth they don't like, yeah.
They think it's hatred, and it's not. It's just the truth, you know. Which is why I named the live stream what I named it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're thinking you're getting it wrong, of course, and because their perspective will be all centered, very biased around the beliefs. Yeah, I notice a lot of religious people, when it comes to a religion, their religion is also their identity. They have trouble differentiating, separating those two. So someone comes along and critiques something in their religion, they don't like it, and they take it personally. And that's a problem, because people are unique, and there's nothing really wrong with having your own identity. Why do you want to give that up and make religion your identity? It just never made sense to me.
Yeah. It just, you know, and then there were some people who wanted to come on, and I'm like, okay, well, we can do that, you know. So after I finished bitching about this person, you know, I'm like, I told you I'm a bitch. I'm upfront about that, you know.
Well, I can't vouch for you on that.
If you don't like me being a bitch, don't come to my channel.
I can't vouch for you on that, because you're always nice. Every encounter I've had with you, or everything I've ever watched.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're straightforward. And you know, you're telling it like it is, and you don't sugarcoat things, and that's good. I like that. I think that's more people. We could do better in the world if more people would stop trying to play diplomat all the time. You know, political
Yeah,
correctness and all
but
that.
but
It's just
some people
interferes. Yeah.
don't like that though. Some people are like, if you think, some people think if you're telling it like it is, they think it's hatred. You know.
Yeah. Well, they don't agree, of course. So
Right.
there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the
it's kind of
problem.
like who's the Christians here are crying oppression, not
Oh
particularly in
yeah.
Oregon, but in America, they're crying oppression, and somebody said if you're used to privilege, then equality feels like oppression. I forget who said that.
When the progressive conservative political party here in Canada got ousted after being in about 5, 6, or 7 terms, and they were trying to turn they're right wing religious, and they're trying aligned, and they were trying to turn Canada into a Christian theocracy. In my estimation, that's how it looked to me. They were setting up the foundation for that. Once they're out, there were Christians saying that they're being oppressed politically, and I'm thinking, this is a democratic vote. What are you talking about? You guys had a good 5, 6, or 7 year long term run here. It's like, enough's enough. Shutting down social programs and science programs, and getting rid of women's rights, and creating a Department of Religion. Like, it's not how government is supposed to be operated. And
Right.
yeah, and they were destroying it basically. And there was even talk among some people that if we're really lucky, they said, these are evangelical Christians saying this, then Canada will just become part of the U.S. And then we can finally become a much more powerful nation in the whole world and be better off, and blah blah blah. It's like, no, we have very different cultures. There's a lot of similarities, and there's differences as well.
Right.
I don't want to go to a system where guns aren't regulated in the way they need to be, and that and then we end up with a giant gun culture here. I really don't want that, because it's pretty peaceful here without all that. And it works well here.
Yeah.
And there's other differences as well. Like, we lose multi-language stuff. We lose certain rights, certain freedoms and things if that happens, because our Charter of Rights and Freedoms actually has in it, in addition to a lot of these different freedoms, it also has a section in it that explicitly prohibits things like racism. And our police force here, police forces actually enforce these laws.
Right.
So, somebody's out there doing a whole bunch of public racist stuff, they get the police end up having a conversation with them, and usually that ends it. And sometimes it doesn't, and then they get arrested. It's just how it goes. We take care of these things properly here. And if somebody was to get fired from their job because of their race, that's huge trouble for them, because there's lawyers lining up at the ex-employee's door to work on contingency for that. Because
Right.
yeah, it's just, and the lawyer would love to get their client lots of money, because they'll earn a percentage of that.
Exactly.
And hopefully also either get the company shut down or fixed. And that's a typical attitude. So, this kind of thing, our system works fairly well. It's not perfect. There's ways it could be improved. We have the Commonwealth connection as well. So
Yeah.
people moving to and from other Commonwealth countries have a lot easier immigration process, as I understand it. So
Okay.
benefits go on and on, right? So the U.S. has advantages as well. Like, we'd lose our health care if we joined the U.S. Like we'd really like having our health care here.
Yeah.
We want to make it better. In fact, there's some politicians talking about adding dental care to it as well, which would be great. I think it could also be better, but there's lots of things. And so I just don't see it. And then Purple Rhymes with Orange talks about, I think it's, which one is he in Mississippi or Missouri? I have trouble remembering, but the state that he's in, he says it'd be nice if it got annexed and became part of Canada. And apparently there was some plan to make that happen in the past, and he knows all the details. And
I wish Oregon was part of Canada.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. And some people saying that the whole West Coast should just become part of Canada. It's like, right. Yeah. I joke with people online sometimes when they're talking about this sort of thing, and they're saying, okay, Alaska is, it should be part of Canada. And, they say, yeah, well, you're going to take that. And they challenge. And I say, oh, yeah, we could take that back. Our military is pretty. They say, well, you and what army? I said, oh, the Canadian Army. We're pretty strong, a lot stronger than you think. And then they said, oh, yeah, if you're so strong, then why aren't you taking it back now then? And I said, oh, we're just waiting for Sarah Palin to leave. At that point, most
you
of them
don't want
realize
to say Sarah Palin. But you know
Yeah,
what? The Christians think that this is important. The Christians, not all Christians, but the fundamentalists think
Yeah.
that they want a theocracy here. That's the operative word. They think they want a theocracy here. But
Yeah, that's scary.
My question would be, yeah, but what happens when that theocracy isn't your theocracy?
Yeah, exactly. What if it was the Muslims who got in?
Yeah.
What it was Islam instead of Christianity? And if it was Christianity, what if it's the wrong denomination? Because it seems that a lot of the extremists have their ideas about a specific denomination of Christianity that should succeed, right? So that should be the right one, and the others can go to hell, so they say. But yeah, as soon as I mentioned that we're waiting for Sarah Palin to leave, most of them realize I'm kidding around, and then they laugh about it, just like you did, and even the right wingers will laugh about that. But a few of them just they don't see that it's humor, and so I just let everybody else keep playing with them. It's funny how it goes. Yeah, but yeah, it's just it's fine. We're doing, I think, pretty good as a country. There's ways we can improve and things we need to make better, and we're in the process of that. It looks like we've reached a settlement now with the Aboriginal stuff with the horrible things that the Catholic Church was allowed to do in the past and all this kind of stuff, running residential schools and whatnot. So that was just announced on the news today. Billions and billions of dollars went into this settlement. It's massive. It's huge.
Yeah, I just watched a documentary not too long ago about those Catholic schools that had that they found
graves.
all those kids in graves.
Unmarked graves. Yeah. And it's not just Canada, it's all over the world. There's other countries have similar kind of problems. And it all seems to go back to Catholic Church. Like MathPig was telling me about in Ireland. He was telling me a few months ago they have a similar problem there, and hundreds upon hundreds of graves were discovered. And but it's not Aboriginal kids; it's just whatever kids were available at the time, I guess. And so it's, to me, when I look at all this, and I think in Australia's got some issues, and the US has some parts with some issues as well, and other countries too. And it's like, okay, this is starting to look like, as scary as this sounds, business as usual for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And that's really, really sad. And the lack of political will to do anything about it is also part of the problem, right? And that's why I'm glad we're as a society taking this so seriously that we're putting all this money into it to, I don't know what, that's probably, I guess, the best we can do. It's the rest of the stuff's going to take time, but I do think that this is a very important step in the right direction for it all.
Yeah.
Of course, it'll come out of everybody's taxes, but we have contingencies and stuff, so we're not in bad shape for any of that. But it's still it's huge, right? So, and it's these are difficult times for this kind of stuff too, because government has been providing funding for people and small businesses to weather the storm of the COVID-19 drop in business and stuff like that. And that's been an enormous help to a lot of people and a lot of businesses. It's really helped to make things work better for people.
Yeah.
So it saved a lot of businesses that would otherwise go out, the smaller ones. Because I've had some, like I do IT support for a living, and look after internet servers and corporate networks and security and things like that, internet security. And there's a number of my clients or other companies I've been serving a little bit here and there, they've gone out of business because they were heavily dependent on walk-in retail, and they got clobbered by Amazon and other big ones like that. So yeah, I agree with Crypta Maria. Tax the church and ask the Vatican to get out of our politics. Yeah, there was you were talking about the taxes earlier. Here in Canada, many years ago, there was a group calling themselves the Atheist Church that they applied for tax exempt status, and I believe it went up to the Supreme Court, if I'm remembering correctly. And the court ruled that atheism is not a religion, so they won't be able to get the tax exempt status, and Revenue Canada was right to not grant it to them, and all this kind of stuff, or whatever agency is responsible for that, and probably Corporations Canada. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, I agree with that decision, and I think that as an atheism organization that I'm running, we specifically don't ask for this, because I'm thinking whether or not you believe in a deity is, to me, not a reasonable enough, not a sufficient enough reason to justify getting tax exempt status. I think if you're running an actual charity, then that's fine. Like here in Canada, if you're a nonprofit society, that's one thing. If you're a charity, that's a whole different classification. And to get that, you have to go through an annual audit, and they check all these kinds of things to make sure you're running everything properly. It's very strict here, how it's regulated. My understanding is in the US, there's no difference between charity and nonprofit, but I don't know if I got that wrong.
I'm not sure, but I do know that religions don't have to open their books, and that irks the living daylights out of me.
Yeah. So here, I don't know what the situation is on that. But if
my thing
they
is,
were to get audited, they would have to.
If you want to be if you want tax exempt status, you ought to have to open your books so we see where your goddamn money is going to.
Yeah.
Hey, Walhart.
Hi, Walhart. See it. Yeah, I agree. Basically, the rules should be the same for everyone. If you're going to claim to be a charity, you need to show where the money's going, because it could be going anywhere if you don't have to tell anyone. Yeah, maybe.
Exactly. Like what's his face has two, not one, but two private jets. Who the hell needs two private jets?
Oh, Kenneth Copeland got 3, right? So
yeah.
These televangelists, it's insane what's going on with all that. The money's not going up into the clouds to heaven or anything. So yeah, it's gone. It's going to go elsewhere, of course.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this stuff really needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Just the tax exemptions, like And look at Mother Teresa. That's what I was going to talk about. Mother Teresa is Christopher Hitchens calls Hell's Angel. And he did a documentary series. Anybody's interested in this, take a look on YouTube and search for Hell's Angel, HELL' Angel, and you'll find Christopher Hitchens' 3-part series on the on Mother Teresa and the horrible things she did, and including taking money and not accounting for it, not opening her books, and just using it, I guess, to make more churches and all this kind of thing. So, and she did a lot of sadistic, horrible, cruel things to the people she was supposedly helping.
I heard that she withheld pain medicine from the dying, and I never knew that until I heard that.
Yeah, it's all detailed. Christopher Hitchens did a thorough job on that one. 3-part series. It's worth watching.
Didn't he write a book about her as well? I think he wrote a book about it. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
I think he might have. Didn't he call it the missionary position or something like that?
That might have been. Yeah, she was really an evil person. She refused medicine to patients in hospital because she thought pain brought you closer to God. So, like, patients dying, and she wouldn't give them medicine. She left them lying on the floor, not even in beds. Yeah, she was a real sadistic. But I'm just nipping outside for a cigarette, so I'll be right back. Thanks, Lisa. Cheers.
Well, I'll probably be going to sleep pretty soon, but I'll hang out until you get back.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Good to see you, Randall. Cheers.
It's good to see you too, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, I didn't know how. I thought, she was a great lady.
That's the marketing.
Yeah, taking care of the poor and all that. I didn't know all this shit about not giving the dying medicine, and all that.
Well, Bill Donahue.
When I heard it, I'm like, well, she wasn't a good lady.
Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League in the U.S., likes her a lot. He said some very nice things about her, but that's a typical line of a lot of these pro-Catholic groups, of course, and the Catholic Church inducting her into sainthood at some point. I'm thinking, wow, their standards for sainthood requires being abusive. Okay, that's how you get in. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, what do you expect?
Yeah, one thing with them being recognized, the Vatican being recognized as its own country is, holy cow, it really shows what money can get you in this world,
Well,
and knowing the right people, of course.
I'm not really sure because I mean they go back a very long time. In fact, in the Dark Ages, the Catholic Church was even more powerful than kings.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I think them being their own country goes further back than people realize. No, I'm not sure. I can't prove that.
I have no doubt that the Catholic Church misses those days.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because they had a lot more power and influence back then. They still have a lot of power and influence, but it's different now. And as there's more education, there's less Catholicism, and
there's more religious competition.
That too, yeah.
Before they could just burn anybody at the stake that disagreed with them.
Call them a witch.
Yeah, kill or convert. Yeah, or convert.
It always seemed strange to me that they're going to say, all right, if they drown, it means they're a witch. I guess if they burn to death, it means if they don't burn to death, they're a witch. That proves it. But if they burn to death, oh well, at least we know they were not a witch.
Doesn't really help the witch, does it? She's going to die.
It's like
not really
the witch, If they float, they're a witch, and if they drown, well,
yeah. It's obvious they hate women. That's what that's all about.
Exactly.
Apart from the fact that you would have thought an all-knowing God would have known that witches don't exist. It seems an odd command to burn witches when they don't actually exist. It's a bit weird, but never mind.
Yeah. There's a lot of things.
Another weird command, and Randolph, I don't think you were here when I brought this up. Don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. Like, what kind of a goddamn command is that?
Well, it must have been addressing a social problem at the time, I guess. Maybe their people had some superstitious idea that they need to do that, and they ended up boiling by mistake or something, so they wanted to solve that. So I'm guessing. I'm not trying to make excuses. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody out there has an answer to this. So.
Hello, Purple, in the side chat.
Sorry, go ahead, Wildheart.
No, I was just saying hello to Purple in the side chat. And Cryptomeria as well, sorry. I've just started looking at the side chat. Sorry. Apologies if the noise is too loud. I'm in a cafe and they're playing music. I'll mute.
Okay. And I guess Freya or Freja, I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced. I hope I got it right the first time.
Yeah, I agree. There's I forget what branch it is, but there's a branch of Christianity that says that the quote unquote Satan that we know is actually the good God, and like the God that's in heaven right now is like the rebellious angel who actually succeeded in throwing God off his throne. Have you heard that, Randolph?
No, this is also new to me.
I was going to say, if you go by like body count and the amount of people God killed versus the amount of people Satan killed, it's ridiculous. God killed like billions.
Exactly.
I think Satan killed under 10, and a few of them God told him to kill them. It's ridiculous, yeah. It doesn't matter. Sorry, Lisa, I interrupted you. Carry on.
And you know, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially biblical literalism. You know, we know and we can show that the Exodus never happened. So why are you trying to hold on to this fairy tale? You know? I don't know. It's just you know, and that's not to say that showing that the Exodus never happened would be a deal breaker for the Bible. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But you have the Exodus never happened and we can prove it, and then you pile up all of this nonsense, and sooner or later you get to the point where this is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, it's nasty stuff.
Yeah. I think one day eventually we may get to the point where we've outgrown religion, but it's not going to be on our time.
Yeah, it's here to stay for a long time, and then there's people creating new ones, of course, and so it just carries on and on. So my hope, I think, what will get rid of religion or get rid of its scourge on society, that the problems that it causes, is that there be education that
Yeah.
includes in it, like what we have in Canada here is overall pretty good in our public
Uh-huh.
school system. And here in BC, they recently added critical thinking to certain grades in the elementary and high school years, mostly in the high school.
Cool.
Yeah, but they're just phasing a little bit in at a time.
Uh-huh.
I think what would be really good is if it also included once a week, maybe a short class on philosophy starting from kindergarten, just very short for those. But I mean,
Yeah.
as we get older and older, the course can get a little bit longer, but even if it's just a once a week thing for by high school, maybe half a day or like one regular course, right? One regular class length would be good because then people are exposed to it. Because, philosophy also bores a lot of people, right? But it'll be good because they can get into logic and things like that in the critical thinking. And right now, critical thinking is mostly left to English and language teachers. And at first, this seems counterintuitive to a lot of people, but a big part of critical thinking is understanding what it is somebody's trying to convey. And
Right.
so English class actually is a really good place for it. It fits very, very well because then, it's like you're learning to, in these kind of classes, learning how to interpret what's written or what's being communicated. And that's so important for critical thinking. Oh, our friend disappeared.
He's going back to his flat. He'll be here again if I'm still live streaming, which I probably won't be. I think I'm probably gonna get off, but
You're getting pretty tired, are you? Yeah, I am too.
yeah, I don't know whether I told you or not, but I've got the shingles.
Oh no, I didn't know that. Gee, that's is that pretty painful at times?
It's itchy. I wish it were painful because
Oh,
painful's better than itchy.
yeah,
At least in my opinion.
well, itchy's irritating, and it can end up resulting in pain if you end up scratching it too much. So it's yeah, but that can be like torture in a way.
Yeah.
So is there treatment that's working for you, or are you just kind of stuck with it?
Oh, I'm on acyclovir.
Oh, okay.
It's a antiviral.
Oh, okay. So you just have to go through the course of the medication for a while, and then you'll be okay, or are you on it permanently?
No, I'm on it for like 7 days. I don't know how much I have left. Because I caught it pretty early.
Okay. Oh, because you caught it early, you'll be over it fairly quickly.
Hopefully, yeah. But I've been kind of tired,
Oh, that would make you tired. Yeah, best to get your sleep then.
Yeah, and I went to my neurologist
Yeah.
in December, and I told her, that I thought I was getting seizures again. And she said, "Why?" I said, "'Cause I'm so tired." Well, I didn't know that I was coming down with the shingles, and
Okay.
you know how your body knows before you do that you're getting sick?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, well, that's why I've been so tired lately.
Okay. That's what that's about. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, well, thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for coming, Randolph.
Oh yeah. Thanks for running these streams. It's always good talking with you. I always enjoy it. I'm sorry I'm not able to get in very often. I try to get to everybody's streams at some point, and
yeah, I don't often run open rooms. This is like only the second or third open room I've had. So, yeah, I don't run them very often, but every once in a while, I'll I'll have an open room. But anyway, thanks for coming, everyone. You have a good day
Take
and
care.
take care.
Well, good night.
Bye.
Thanks again.